So we know the prisons are filled with children. They're terrorists too. They're murderers.
He's gonna say yes.
If you threw a rock, you're a terrorist.
Yeah.
Oh no! He did it! He did it! He did it! I thought it was a joke. I thought he didn't have the balls. That's insane. You have to have brain worms, dude.
Israel?
Yes.
And the media also backs
But US also sends money to Palestine.
Yo! Oh my God, these guys are nutty.
You know, a Palestinian and Israeli would meet each other on the street or in a bar.
It's so important to me to constantly be listening and connecting with people who have a different stake in this game from the other side.
Sitting in the presence of everyone, you kind of get to feel more of what they're feeling.
And I think that it's what we all need right now to humanize the so frequently dehumanized.
Obviously, there's two sides to this discussion, and the only way out is through.
I'm seeing a lot of fucking kefiyas, bro. What the fuck? Bro, Jubilee would literally do a slavery middle ground. Like slave owners versus slaves middle ground. Like I swear to God, they would do it. Like they would do it. If we still had it going right now, you know, straight up chattel slavery, if it still was operating, middle ground would be like slaves versus slavers. Middle ground.
I have lost someone in the war.
Yeah, Germans versus Jews, middle ground, 1940s YouTube shit.
First of all, I consider everyone in Gaza or Palestine to be an extended member of my family, but I actually lost 23 extended members of my family in Gaza.
Yeah. And for me, in the West Bank.
Abolitionists versus slavers? No, dog. No, they would do a slaves versus slave masters episode. They wouldn't even do like abolitionists. I mean, I think they would do that one as well, but like separately.
Bank, where my family lives, I lost one of my cousins who was simply
Jubilee in 1991. Black South Africans versus white South Africans. Apartheid, middle ground.
Home from work at our family grocery store and just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and ended up getting shot by an Israeli soldier that was posted up on the corner looking for someone and shot him, and he immediately died.
Sorry to hear that.
I'm so sorry.
Two friends who got killed at a massacre. Actually, one of them, her burned body just was recognized a few days ago, 40-something days after. And they actually bury a little part of the leg. That was the only thing that was left. But I have a list of tens of friends who got killed, because it's a long war, I guess. It didn't start on October 7th, from my point of view, I guess.
Absolutely not, yeah.
And yeah.
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
I lost friends at Nova, one of the nature parties that was attacked. It's actually another nature party that was also attacked called Psyduck, which not a lot of people really know about.
It's a smaller party.
Smaller party, yeah.
I was there.
Yeah, I mean, Nova was the same location.
Wait, what do you mean he was there? What? Did you just say I was there? Like he was at one of the parties on October 7th?
My first nature party in 2012. I've been going to them since then. And to say the community was devastated is really enough.
Many people did live, you know. Yeah, but that's like, I feel like I would lead with that. You know what I mean? I'd be like, I survived October 7th would be the first thing that I would say in a situation like that. You don't go, I was there at the towers on 9/11 as a follow-up to like knowing people that were victimized on 9/11. You know what I mean?
An understatement. It was just horrible. That's really what it was.
Sorry for your loss, too.
Thanks.
I lost a lot of friends that day, on October 7th. One of them was my best friend. One of my best friends, her name was Mo. She was with us at the beach that day. and she went home to her mother, and on the way home, hundreds of terrorists caught her and shot her dead. Two friends of mine that was on the Supernova Music Festival also died there, and they were murdered right on the spot, and they found their body just dumped somewhere inside Gaza 2 weeks after. And one of my best friends, big brother, being called that day by the army to help the people of the village of Be'eri, which got taken by Hamas terrorists. And when he went there with his unit, he died there, leaving behind a wife that they married maybe 1 year ago. And my mom's best friend, I have a daughter that was married to a guy named Itai. He was also in the army. And on the second day, he went to Zikim, where I was, on the beach. And he also died there, along with his two best friends. And since October 7, I lost too many people. And just keep counting.
Yeah, I think we all can agree that we've all been doing that since October 7th. You know, I have a lot of friends where I live in Washington, D.C., who have their direct family members in Gaza right now. You know, they left for studying or jobs, and every day having to hear them frantically try to call to see if their families are alive. You know, one of them, his brother was one of the last standing nurses at Al-Shifa Hospital up until just last week. He finally left. The uncertainty when it's like your immediate family, I think it's debilitating, and, you know, it puts you into a tunnel where you only can see your grief, but it's obvious that the grief is everywhere.
Wait, he was
and
there.
We're all feeling the same things, and, you know, none of it should have happened and none of it should be happening, which is why I think a conversation like this right now is extremely important so that we can all...
Bro really was there, dude. He's giving a fucking testimony. Tomer.
Or listening to him, like, okay, so they killed you guys. All right, let's move on. It will never happen again. It's a history.
Yeah, bro, he was there. Yeah.
I'll understand that.
He actually was there, bro. He's on Jubilee after? What the
Point when you see it happening to your family, I'm sure friends, probably a similar feeling. It settles at a much deeper level.
That's not weird, man. Dude, it's not weird. Israel has a shit ton of dual citizens, okay? Many of which are American citizens. Not that weird that he was there.
We have a family group chat. A lot of my relatives my aunts are in Egypt. So we have a family group chat, and when events transpired and you start seeing the group chat transform from checking in on each other and the regular, you know, memes and banter to, have you guys checked in? Have you heard from them? Oh, we haven't heard in 3 days. The electricity's been out. When I started seeing that on my WhatsApp group, like I said, I consider everyone in Palestine and any innocent humans really to be part of our extended family, but that just resonates at a much deeper level.
I've been sitting with a lot of guilt, being the only, you know, American Palestinian of my cousins. You know, my family made it out. My dad wanted, you know, to give us a better life, and so, you know, he brought my mom here. I was born and raised here, but when I was a teenager, we moved back, and I lived in Palestine. So it was a shock to see how the occupation affected our daily lives, you know, and I was 13, you know, but coming from Ohio, from like the Midwest, you know, everything is open and free, and then here you are like going to the grocery store and there's tanks rolling down the street, you know, soldiers with guns walking around. Then some days, like, we couldn't go to school because they would close the checkpoints and close the border, like, you're not going today. And, you know, as a child, I thought that was kind of cool, like, oh, I don't have to go to school today. But I look back now and I'm like, that's kind of messed up.
How long ago did you move out? Like, did you guys move out from
Palestine? It was in the 90s, the mid.
Yo, that's how you know this shit in the West Bank is worse, dude. She said Ohio looks good. Okay? Just think about that. Let that sit.
90s.
I grew up in southeast Jerusalem, and I remember actually in the beginning of the 90s, we used to go to Kalkilia and Jenin, and we used to do shopping over there because it was cheaper, you know? And we used to eat hummus over there, and
Good hummus, huh?
a lot, bro, a lot. It's maybe my
Knafe.
favorite, knafe, you know? So I actually even understand some of the language. I grew up in a place with a lot of Israeli Muslims, and you're right. It was. I remember actually it was a great time in the 90s in that area when everything got more complicated into the second Intifada. When I started my military time, I was 4.5 years in the military. I was Special Ground Forces. I know Gaza, like I know my hand. And
That's terrifying, dog. That is fucked up to Jesus Christ, dude.
the problems are of closing check posts and everything. It started only in the end of the 90s. Because I'm talking about dramatically because of a lot of terrorist attack that happened.
Yeah, terror. Yeah, Intifada.
And then in Israel. So in the beginning of the Intifada in 2000.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, y'all want to do strikes and fucking stone tossing? Yeah, guess what, dude? It's terror time."
It was impossible for Jewish people, obviously, to get into Jenin, or obviously the entire West Bank. But before that, we could because before that, we didn't have that many terrorist attacks. So the occupation from
Yeah, the difference is like, oh, you can't get into Jenin. Oh no, you can't get fucking cheap consumer goods. Let's not interrogate at all why the goods were cheaper there, obviously. Adjusted to the fucking living standards, and also because wages are lower too. But like, yeah, that's the only thing you lose out on. You no longer have the grocery trips, which is, you know.
From the way we see it, occupation. I don't call it occupation. I call it protect your country from some terrorist organization, extremist.
I
That's
think you called
crazy.
it right.
I will be the last person that will say it's a whole group, because I have a lot of Muslim friends up until today, even from back in the days, and even childhood friends that I grew up with.
He's like, I had childhood friends that I grew up with, and some of his family members I might have fucking patrolled in Gaza.
So my past is very rich with the Muslim Arabs, Israeli Arabs culture, but in my opinion is super strong, because I felt it different between the 90s and the terrorist attack that happened because of the Hamas. Obviously, they woke up the monster. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so I didn't step up because while my mom and dad know people who have been victims, I had the privilege of being born and raised in Detroit and spending 2-3 months at a time on multiple occasions in the West Bank. So that's why I didn't step up.
What was your name?
Talal.
Talal. What you said when you first stepped down, that, you know, everyone there is your family. I feel that way as a Jew about Israel, but I didn't want to take away from who I'm sure had real personal connections. But we feel it deeply, everything that we see. And of course, I know many people who live in Israel who thank God we're not in the South on October 7th, and who are okay right now, thank God, but we're checking in, and everybody knows somebody. It's like we're all 1 degree away from tragedy. So that's why I disagreed.
I didn't lose anyone, but I did get married in Palestine. I'm not going to say which village to protect my ex-husband. But before we got married, he was arrested. His village was attacked by the IDF, and he threw a rock this big at an Israeli tank and was arrested for 4 years, where he was beaten, tortured, starved.
Yes, but that's terror. A terror rock.
And according to his family, I didn't know him at the time. He never came out the same.
Like, I wonder, I mean, these are like American Israelis, I feel like. Maybe some of them are they all Israelis? Or are they just like, it's not just Zionists, right? It's just, I think, yeah, Israel and Palestine. I don't know. Like, I wonder if there's any moment here where where they just go, okay, well, that's not worthy of a 4-year jail sentence where they're getting tortured.
And even after we got married, you know, asking him the questions and, you know, what happened and how was it in jail, and you could see the fear in his eyes and you could just feel his pain. And a lot of people don't realize that a lot of Palestinians that get arrested are never put on a fair trial.
That's actually not true, what you're saying here. It's not true.
2/3 of Palestinians are not put on trial. They're not charged.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
No, they're not, bro. Okay. Oh, my Lord. Oh, my God. Oh, dude. Okay, so now we're doing this. We're doing your facts are actually incorrect, because that makes me question everything I know about my own morality versus like Israel's daily maintenance of apartheid. Now, see, you can't do that to me. You can't do that, because on the one hand, I value myself as like a progressive guy. Okay? I feel as though I have a moral position on this matter. Okay? So when you when you just pierce through that and tell me what it really is, that makes me feel bad. So I have two options to go, maybe it really is like that. Oh my God, I misunderstood this entire thing. Or maybe I'm just going to say, that can't be true.
They're just held
Because I
captive
just
and
told you
hostage.
what happened to my
If they did
ex-husband.
a crime,
personal
they're
story.
going
Is
to
she
a trial.
lying?
They always win.
So
Always a trial in
Is
Israel.
she lying?
There's always a trial. Dog, it's military court. The fuck do you mean there's always a trial? It's a military court for an occupying force. That's crazy. That's no trial. And no, there's plenty of instances where they don't have a trial at all.
I'm giving you a personal account of what happened to my husband. This isn't a source or a website or a video.
I think that's a personal story. I think basically what he's saying is that according to our law, which maybe it's not necessarily always upheld, that according to our law, and if it was to be discovered, there'd be mass protests. Like, we don't fuck with that. As a
What?
people.
No, wait, what? There are. And people get killed at them. Like, what? Dog, lady, the fucking dude next to you literally said, terror is the reason why we put a checkpoint, which, by the way, was that. It's like half the time is shit like that. People going, okay, enough is enough. These rules are fucking unacceptable. Let us live. And then they're like, oh, that's terror.
And the law legally states that they would have to be a trial. I think
You
that's what
don't.
he's
Not
saying.
everybody's like that in Israel, to be fair.
That's fair.
So what about the children that are imprisoned? Do they go
I like the middle ground is like truth versus how I feel about the matter. That's my homie that has really fucked her life up when she got married. It was the most disturbing shit.
through due trial? A 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old.
All of
Is
them
there,
go to
is there any
trial.
is
Check
there any
your
is there
sources.
any trial that
your
justifies
sources
children
and then
to be
come
held
back.
in
I'm
prison
giving
for
you,
years?
I'm telling you right now that my ex-husband did not get a fair trial.
Why? Because it was
And
4 years
then
there?
you took his situation, and I'm not taking away from your situation like you did with mine. You took our personal experience and situation, and with all due respect, made it about you. When an Israeli tank attacks a Palestinian village, are
true.
all Palestinians supposed to lay there and just take it?
So we know the prisons are filled with children. They're terrorists too. They're
Yeah,
murderers.
He's gonna say yes.
If you threw
Yeah.
a rock,
Yeah.
if you threw a rock, you're a terrorist.
Yeah. Oh, if you-
Oh no! He did it! He did it! He did it! I thought it was a joke. I thought he didn't have the balls. I thought he didn't have the balls to be like, if you throw a rock, you are terrorist. He did it! It is terror rock. Very different than rock I throw. Terror babies. Okay, will he say terror babies? Babies of terror.
you throw a rock, you're a
If
terrorist.
you attack us, if you attack with
This
rocks,
is
you're
the
gonna be in
prime
jail.
example of not having due trial. A trial means you get investigated. You look at the cause of
I
what
agree.
happened.
No, I
you
don't.
look at the
I don't say that just
situations.
because
You
they're
can't just say
it's like
anyone.
they have to
that
go
feels
through
anything.
actual due process.
I like that the idea that a child throwing a rock is terror, but a full-blown adult, okay, that got pissed out of their mother's pussy, developed for 19 years, sat inside of a $35 million Merkava tank, rolled that tank into the Palestinian village where it does not belong. That's not terror, okay? That's not terror. The fucking kid with the rock, though, that's terror. It's insane. That's insane. You have to have fucking brain worms, dude. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's a crazy thing to say. Rock, paper, tank. Everybody knows that's the balance.
It's a weapon, it's an attack.
This is
That's
the
it.
just.
Yeah.
This is the
If you hold a
logic.
little
This is the
weapon, it's a
logic of
terrorist
Israel.
attack.
If you're Palestinian, you're a
I'd love to
terrorist.
say some final words about the actual prompt, if that's okay, because I think it's disrespectful to all the people that we did lose during this.
Oh my God, dude. Oh, of course. The side that is the dominating side, of course, can just take a deep breath and bring everybody back to the point at hand.
War to go down this route right now. I actually broke the news on the Nature Party before any other media outlet from friends that were there. And I'm sitting there getting these messages at nighttime. It was Saturday night. And it was horrific. And I think that what we're all experiencing in terms of checking in on our family. I mean, my sister just gave birth in a bomb shelter like a week ago. You know, I think that's a really common experience, and it's something that both people from both sides can relate to. And it's one of the areas that a lot of these random people who are so disassociated from this that are chiming in can't actually feel. And I think it's just a really intense thing. And I know that for myself personally, I can't log on to Facebook anymore without just seeing funeral and Shiva announcements. And I find that to be very hard to go through every day. But I have to check because we don't even know who's missing or who's dead 100% just yet. So like last week, my friend's two twin cousins that were 12 were found, finally identified. Their bodies were burnt to such a crisp that it took that long. So I just think like with a prompt like this, we need to give due respect to the people that we all lost and just
Like that is a serious situation. I empathize. Okay, I empathize with that. It's just that there's no expectation from this side to ever empathize with the Palestinians. Look how quiet the Palestinian defenders are when people talk about their dead relatives. But when the Palestinians talk about like their relatives getting fucking tortured in prison, they're like, aha, it's not real. They are terror. Can you imagine the alternative in this circumstance being like the Palestinian defender turning around and be like, you're crying, but I don't care because your tears are fake because your fucking baby deserved it or something. You know what I mean? That would be insane. Everyone would go, you're genocidal. You're a freak. Okay? But when the Israeli defenders do that, it's never considered out of pocket. It's wild. The asymmetry is built into the conflict.
just take a moment to just validate the fact that so many of us are sitting here having lost family members, friends, people we've met throughout the years, friends of friends, cousins of cousins, aunts. I mean, it's almost impossible to be untouched by this. So yeah, I'm just sorry for everyone's losses, and may everybody's memory be a blessing.
Inshallah, and we apologize for your loss as well. I would like to point out.
Yo, you apologize for her loss. She never apologized to your loss. He definitely didn't. You know what I mean? Like that's what I mean. Look, anyone who defends Palestine for years and years, especially if they're Palestinian, knows there's not a moment to grieve appropriately. He did not, the others did not at all, okay? You cannot, I can't get over the rock throwing thing. I can't believe they popped off and quite literally were like, yeah, the court system actually is totally just. I'm losing my mind. It's just so, I don't know. It's just so fucking insane. No, I empathize with her. It's traumatic to lose loved ones. It's traumatic to lose loved ones. Of course, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your background is. But it's wild. It's wild that it is just like that's it. That's the end of the conversation. Like we ended on a note where like the fucking group that just said 13-year-olds get fair trials in prison when they objectively do not for throwing rocks, which, you know, some in the group considered to be an act of terror. And then it's over. And then she said, like, well, October 7 happened. And then, you know, you apologize, even though you didn't do it. Why the fuck are you apologizing to her? You know what I mean? You didn't do it. You're not even defending it.
Even though it is very difficult that your sister gave birth at a bomb shelter, there are no bomb shelters for the people of Gaza.
I rely more on the information I get from social media than the news.
It sometimes just makes me feel like I'm going fucking banana mode, you know? I feel like I'm losing my sanity when I watch stuff like this and recognize the asymmetry, and I know the expectations from the broader public is like, yeah, of course it's going to be like that. You're fucking terrorists. You're defenders of fucking terrorists. Obviously, you're going to have to fucking carry yourself a certain way. Like, I feel like that's the hidden expectation from the majority of the public. And honestly, it does feel that way because when you look at the polls and people are just like, yeah, 56% are unconditionally in support of Israel. And you're like, okay, well, what the fuck's going on? Genocide is happening. How are you going to be unconditionally in support of genocide? And they're like, well, they deserve it. Why do they deserve it? Oh, it's terrorists. They're terror children.
Obviously, it's very important that we're using like verified news sources. There's so much misinformation, I think, from both sides. I know that I've corrected people on the Palestinian side, like, hey, I don't think that this is actually true. Like, maybe, you know, we need a source. If you're reposting something from someone else, also tag whichever, you know, journalist or news site it's coming from, just to streamline information, because, you know, misinformation can hurt the cause more than the actual information not being shared, truly. And I think in order to honor what is happening and to be able to truly advocate, it's important that we're only putting forth the truth. There's so many different kinds of networks, ones that are more on the ground, like Al Jazeera and Mayadeen, and then obviously you have the American media, CNN and New York
Well, they do sound like terror media.
Post and New York, you know, Times and Washington Post. I feel like a lot of times, in general, I feel like American media, mainstream media, has not been fair on so many other issues previous to this. And so I don't only necessarily go to them, but I do look at
The Palestinian cause, never the Israeli cause, they lie constantly and still have full social support. Or you're talking about Israeli cause?
all sources of media because I want to get a fair view of what's happening. And I also look at Israeli media.
Can I ask a question? Because I saw you both not. In your opinion, is the American media bias anti-Palestinian or anti-Jewish bias, is what you say when you say that the American media is not?
Anti-Palestinian.
That's so interesting,
Oh, wow.
because
We
for the
said-
Jews,
That's because your expectations are nutty mode. Okay? I'm sorry. First of all, notice how he didn't say anti-Israel bias, he said anti-Jewish bias. Brother, I'm going to lose my fucking mind, okay? The notion that there is any anti-Jewish bias in American media is psychotic, okay? Straight up, you are QAnon. You are QAnon. You are a reactionary conservative, okay? If there's any bias against Israel, that's still psychotic, despite being a foreign nation, okay? That's also delusional. And the reason why, and this is what I was thinking about in the shower this morning. These guys are not fucking sicko mode because they're like QAnon anti-vaxxers or anything. They're sicko mode because they're fucking reactionary conservatives. No, not this specific video. I'm talking about, like, where does this come from? Like, where does this attitude come from? Like, why is there so much conflation within anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism? Okay? Why? Why is it that, like, in our college campuses, people are just, like, very clearly hitting the, you're doing anti-Semitism right now, you're doing a non-DEI, you're doing a no-growth, and it hits. And it's because of conservatism that it hits. That's it. It's straight up no different than when white people talk about how Christians are under attack in America. It's just, it is literally a group that has more power in this conflict, Israel, okay, against Palestinians that have no fucking power, talking about the terms and conditions of how to talk about genocide even. How to even talk about genocide, how to protest genocide. How the fuck do you set the terms over there on how much ethnic cleansing you're going to do? You're going to turn on the ethnic cleansing dial every day, okay? And then you come to America and you're like, also, you can't even protest it. I'm going to tell you how to protest the ethnic cleansing campaign. There's no equivalence here. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, man. This is why so many American Jews have shifted over to watching Fox News, by the way, which is like doing the most reactionary coverage of the matter. This is not my assessment. This is what I read in the New York Times. Jewish American population, okay, Jewish American population and its Zionism almost identical to the American population and its Zionism across the board, okay? So that's something you have to recognize. That's it. Like there's almost no deviation. Like young Jews, majority young Jews support Palestine, okay? Majority young Jews support Palestine just like majority young people support Palestine. Once you get over the age of 44, things take a very reactionary turn, okay? So you have to remember that. You have to remember that. However, Jewish population in America are a progressive voter bloc. They vote Democratic Party overwhelmingly. But on the issue of Israel, especially the older Jewish voting bloc, are Democratic Party voters reliably, but they are incredibly reactionary. So the narrative on Israel-Palestine is so incredibly fucking distorted. And we do not have the capacity to recognize that this is incredible right-wing framing. Why? Because it is a conversation where those at the forefront of the conversation are Jewish people, both on the anti-Zionism front in the Western world I'm talking about. On the anti-Zionism front, Jews are leading the conversation. On the pro-Zionism front, Jews are leading the conversation, despite the fact that they make up a margin of the actual overarching Zionist support and overarching anti-Zionist support. And because Jews are a marginalized demographic overall, okay, there are real concerns with anti-Semitism that you can point to. There are real concerns of anti-Semitism that are being weaponized and conflated with actual anti-Zionism, which is incredibly cynical. And in a way, it ends up creating more genuine anti-Semitism. The notion the media has an anti-Israel bias is crazy.
I think it's so anti-Jewish biased.
Yeah.
It can be both, right?
yeah.
It's one or the other, and it's anti-Palestinian.
Oh, because you said it is. So.
Well, because
Like if you look at the wording, there's selective language, there's omission, and there's adding of certain words that paint a narrative very strongly. So when they say clashes between, Palestinian Israeli forces and Hamas, but you look at what the actual story is and you read the fine print, which most people unfortunately.
Like this shit is psychotic. And I don't know why. I don't know why people don't understand. I don't know why people don't comprehend it. Like when you tie Judaism with Zionism, you're making Jews in America and in the Western world less safe. Okay? This is a completely unjustifiable hate crime. Okay? It's a completely unjustifiable hate crime. It's just, there is a reason why anti-Semitic attacks increase every time Israel's in the media like this. Okay? Anti-Semitic hate crimes are always going to exist, no matter what. They're always going to exist. They're a permanent thing. They're a permanent fixture. Every conspiracy theory at its heart has anti-Semitism baked into it. Okay? It is the diametrical opposite of materialist thought. That's where you arrive at when you arrive at an idealistic notion of the world. If you're looking at it through an idealist lens, you're going to think there's good and evil. Who's evil? Okay, well, I'm not a very creative guy, but I'm going to think about who the most historical evil guys are. Who are the guys that everyone has considered evil historically? Jews. Always. That's why no matter how innocuous a conspiracy theory is, it almost always arrives at the anti-Semitism question. Jews living outside of Israel are harmed by Zionism being conflated with Judaism. These kinds of actions are going to happen regardless, but the goal is to try and limit it as best as possible. And then you have anti-Semitic motherfuckers who think they have a just cause at a time because they're like, oh, well, I can mask this with hatred of Israel. You know what I mean? Because like all Jews defend Israel unconditionally. So these Jews and this Jewish site of worship is now also responsible for the crimes of Israel. It's ridiculous. So even though one might think that they're doing good propaganda, one might think that they're doing a good job arguing by cynically or not cynically, by genuinely believing that all Jews do defend Israel unconditionally as a Zionist, saying that, and that anti-Zionism means anti-Semitism, all you're doing is making Jews less safe. I personally don't understand it because, like, I guess as a Muslim American, you know what I mean? Even though I'm culturally Muslim, I'm not like, my name is Hasan, that's it, right? I'm not like a practicing Muslim at all. A lot of Muslim Americans or a lot of Arab Americans immediately have to address whether they support Hamas or not, right off the bat. No conversation can continue until a Muslim man tells you what their position is. Oh, I don't promote Hamas. I don't think terrorism is okay. I'm so sorry about civilian casualties, right? You know you have to separate yourself from that. But in a weird way, given the position of Israel as an American ally, Jewish people, obviously, one, should not have to do that, just like Muslims should not have to do that, just like Arabs should not have to do that. But Jewish people, the Zionist part of the Jewish movement in America, openly will say, no, you don't understand. I love Israel and all of its actions, and actually I think Israel's doing this for Jews, which is an insane thing. It's like looking at the genocide in Yemen and being like a Saudi guy who goes, you don't get it. I love that the genocide is going on in Yemen. I love that shit. It's perfectly valid. It's perfectly reasonable, and I'm on board. I'm on board with that shit. I ride for that, dude. That's my genocide. That's for me. You're not going to have any Muslim take ownership over, ISIS actions or Saudi Arabia's actions in America in the way that you sometimes see voluntarily Zionist Americans of Jewish descent turning around and be like, no, I ride for it. What do you mean? And I don't understand it. I will never understand that. I get tired as someone who's never, ever denied the Armenian genocide. Like, I get annoyed when come in here and immediately say, classic Turkish guy, he denies the Armenian genocide. I'm like, I never have, and I never will, but I'll still say the Armenian genocide happened, right? And it's annoying because it comes from a place of racism. Now imagine if I was like, straight up, yeah, dog, you're wrong. It's a lie, actually. The general lie, you mean? Oh, that never happened. Suck my dick. Never happened, but it'd be really great if it did. Like, and more of it should happen. Like, if I said some shit like that, you would be like, oh, that's a bad guy. That's like, immediately, you'd be like, all right, you're insane. So I'll never understand it. I'll never understand it when, like, ultra-Zionists will ride for this shit and will be like, no, not only do I associate Israel's actions, with my own interests, I associate it with Judaism in general, which is psychotic.
Don't do. It turns out that Israeli forces in whatever situation might have stormed into a village and shot a child. But the headline reads clashes. Anytime it's the other way around, terrorist. So I think it's very important to label people correctly. And some people are terrorists and they should be labeled as such. Mm-hmm. But when you omit certain information for a specific purpose, this is what the Western media specializes in.
What I love about this is what you're saying could be taken verbatim from like a Jewish dinner conversation. They do the exact same thing to the Jews. Where
example?
Absolutely. Where like the day after this October 7th massacre, the guys flying in and like raping and burning people are being called militants and not terrorists.
Freedom fighters.
Freedom fighters.
There's like literally
Point to one singular instance where the IDF, the Israeli occupying force, is being considered terrorists. First of all, most people do not say that. At most, you're going to hear it from someone like myself, okay? Because they are militants engaging in an act of terror, for the record. The reality of the matter is, not a single Western media outlet is saying it like that. Even though saying it like that, as long as you declare the actions to be terror, would be appropriate. And the inverse of that never is true. Nobody calls the Israeli occupying force a terrorist group. Has there ever been a singular mainstream outlet, legacy publisher, print media, any one of these big newspapers, have they ever called what Israel is doing terrorism?
really examples of, for example, if there's a terrorist attack in Israel, the BBC will publish like IDF, shoots Palestinians, as opposed to like the terrorists literally came and tried to stab people and then got neutralized by the IDF. And so I think like the language, honestly, and by the way, I have a lot of Palestinian friends. I know you guys think the media is biased against you, and I know we also think that too. I see this on both of my feeds. It's like so blatant how we both feel this way. And I think that instead of dismissing—
Yeah, except one side's recognition of the biases is understandable and truthful. I myself am obviously biased towards Palestinian emancipation because I look at the situation, I'm like, yeah, it's an apartheid state. That's really f***ed up that's happening, okay? But having said that, their interpretation is correct. There is very little coverage of the Palestinian side of things in an honest way in Western media, as opposed to, one, the very understandable and truthful coverage over the Israeli victims of October 7th, right? Because that's truthful, that's understandable. Of course of course mainstream media is gonna cover that, okay? But like the coverage is incredibly lopsided. Two months have passed by with Israel routinely pounding Gaza into rubble, 16,000 killed. The media coverage still absolutely favors the very real side of the victims of October 7, and also the psychotic side of Israel's offensive actions as an occupying force. Abu Ubaidah doesn't go on CNN to be like, these brave martyrs actually dropped a grenade on top of an Israeli occupying forces invading army today, and here's why it's justifiable. In the same way that Jonathan Concuncrius, or however you say his name, with his fat ass Frankenstein head, goes and talks about how every hospital that's being blown up or every mosque is actually worthy and is a valid military target in real time. That's a crazy comparison. Can you imagine? Conricus, I don't know how you say his last name. Arabic media in the region is biased to the Palestinians, though most Arabs don't listen to Western media. No, brother. Arabic media in the region is biased towards the truth. Yes, they are, which means you're biased towards the Palestinians. Because guess what, dude? Guess what? The situation is one-sided. It's not a both sides situation at all. The UN continuously votes against Israel, so I don't know what you're saying. Yeah, remember when the UN voted continuously against Israel? I think, 69 to 70 instances, and every single one was vetoed by the United States of America, which has permanent veto power in the Security Council, so all of those votes are basically not even important at all. It's only the USA, though. Yeah, brother, it doesn't matter. The United States of America runs the show. The United Nations is useless. It's the UN that matters. Yeah, it's so weird how the one permanent veto power Security Council member keeps vetoing all these fucking votes, so it goes nowhere. Meanwhile, the Israeli UN ambassador, Gilad Erdan or whatever his name is, I forget, can go on there and be like, UN teachers, terrorists, they are Hamas. UNRWA, Hamas. New York Times, Hamas. Doctors Without Borders, also Hamas. Dua Lipa, Hamas. Top of the hour, ad break, Hamas. Avoid it. It is terror. A lot of Arabs watch Russia Today because they hear how shitty they've been treated by Western media, so they end up going down the Russian agitprop pipeline. Source, my grandfather keeps sending me Russian agitprop Iraqi. None of those votes mean anything if America always vetoes it. It doesn't matter. The finger wagging. Okay, here's a 3-minute ad break now.
The fact that like we just don't see that, maybe we need to send each other examples of articles that we feel are completely biased and have really crappy headlines. And the truth is, by the way, most of these media orgs don't even have a personal incentive in the region. They're just stirring this pot for no, like, and we're just fighting out over this. We shouldn't let them do that. But
yeah. When I think of like mainstream media not having a personal bias in the matter, I think of Barack Ravid, who unironically had to get criticized by the Israeli Defense Force. Not Barack Ravid personally, but his coverage made it into the mainstream news cycle when he verbatim repeated the psychopathic assertion made by what's-his-face in the State Department. What was it? Miller? Tim, what was the guy's name in the State Department? When he said, like, oh, actually, Hamas is not, no, not John Kirby. No, not Stephen Miller. God damn it. You guys are Mark Miller. Not Max Miller. It was Mark Miller. Mark Miller made a personal assessment and pushed it as though it was fact, talking about how Hamas is not releasing the female, or it wasn't Mark Miller. God damn it. What's his name? Matthew Miller. God damn it. Matthew Miller, spokesperson for the United States Department of State. Matthew Miller came out and straight up said, and he's a Democratic Party guy, okay? Straight up came out and said, by the way, you know, Hamas is not releasing the female prisoners because they probably raped them. And the IDF and Barak Ravid at Axios reported that as though it was a matter of fact. And then everyone was like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? You can't do that. It made it into the news cycle, though. And it became such a problem that even the Israeli occupying forces' very own spokesperson had to literally tell Mark Miller or fucking Matthew Miller to shut the fuck up.
BBC is legitimately so anti-Semitic. CNN has taken years before they turned around and called
What makes
Hamas a
them
terrorist group.
anti-Semitic?
Their headlines are an absolute atrocity. They never report on anything that happens for the Israeli side. They only report on our response.
But how is
And
that
it's
anti-Semitic?
because they never report on the attacks that come towards us. They only report on what we do. And yes,
That's all I see.
it's
It's interesting
Okay,
how.
I
Are we
wanna answer
getting
the
like
prompts.
two
I wanna
different
answer the prompts.
Like what?
We have,
Interesting
like
how
we have.
Like what? That one fucking rocket that fell on top of a goddamn... It was not even a rocket. I think it was an interceptor anyway. But that fell on a fucking tree? Is that what we're talking about? And then the leaves were shook? God damn, dude. It's crazy. It's like half the time it's like a fucking interceptor that dismantles a rocket over Israel proper that falls on a car. Do you want them to fucking report that while... every day, hundreds of Palestinians are getting fucking slaughtered? That's delusional, dude. That, unironically, would make your side look bad. People, if the CNN literally did anything but what they're doing right now, people will go, are you fucking joking? Are you for fucking real right now? That's the funniest part about this conversation, is that she's literally being like, why won't they report our side? It's like, first of all, they do, and they still do. On October 7th, they CNN and all the mainstream media still overwhelmingly cover the victims of October 7th all the time. Okay? All the time. Never to the same degree as like the ongoing atrocities on the Palestinian side. That's number one. And there's validity to cover the victims of October 7th, even though I do believe that it's being cynically recycled over and over again in an effort to continue creating a justification cycle of the ongoing atrocities that Israel is committing in Gaza, okay? But like if you want them to cover shit beyond like having literally dedicated mouthpieces to the IDF contextualizing every violent attack on fucking Gaza in real time as it's happening, I don't know what you want. You want them to talk about the fucking trees? Like you want them to talk about like an interceptor missile, like in the midst of like talking about thousands of dead children?
I'd like a chance to answer
I
the
would
prompt.
say that we're probably looking at things through different lenses.
Yeah. So when you say the news, you see something on social media, you should definitely verify. As far as the U.S. media, and this is just my opinion, the U.S. media that we've been fed has been feeding into lies over the years, not just this conflict in general. So when you say they don't have let's say a dog in the race, it's just not true, because Joe Biden clearly supports Israel unequivocally. So you can't say that there's no Israeli bias in America. The U.S. always stands with Israel. That's a fact.
I have a problem with Joe Biden, probably like.
Yeah.
everybody does.
Okay.
Joe Biden or not, I don't think that affects media coverage.
It does.
What? That doesn't affect it? Okay. Would you be saying that if Joe Biden came out and said Palestine has a right to defend itself, which would be morally correct, by the way? You'd be fucking losing your goddamn mind. Shut the fuck up acting like that doesn't matter. You can only say that because you're fucking arrogant, okay? You are arrogant. You expect the American government to defend Israel. That's why you can confidently be like, oh, like, yeah, Joe Biden, whatever, who gives a shit? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking joking? You just complained about CNN not covering the Israeli side enough, when that coverage alone is fucking lopsided. If you think that's biased, then, oh my God, imagine if Joe Biden came out and was like, Palestinians are human beings and Israel needs to cut it out with its ethnic cleansing campaign, which would be a truthful fucking statement, mind you. That's crazy that he just like hand waves it away. This is why, like, when people defend Israel and they go, what's America going to do? Stop giving us weapons? That's marginal. That doesn't matter. Shut the fuck up. You have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. If that was the case, Benjamin Netanyahu wouldn't have spent most of his goddamn time giving interviews to American media instead of talking to the fucking victims and their family members of the hostages in Israel, or talking to Israeli television. Benjamin Netanyahu spent the overwhelming majority of his media opportunities talking to American media and sometimes the Western media since October 7th. If he didn't think that that shit was important, he wouldn't be doing it.
Does.
$1 billion
It does.
According to you.
No, because the Democrats
Joe
definitely.
Biden repeated the unsubstantiated claim that 40 babies were
Yeah.
beheaded.
Joe Biden say that because he saw what we showed him. If I believe Joe Biden and his support to
Why are you saying that, dog? That's crazy. He's like, yeah, I showed him the fake shit. Like,
Israel, I think it's a big BS.
Yeah.
You
He
think
just
Joe
funded
Biden
Iran.
So Joe
doesn't
Biden-
support Israel?
He just funded Iran.
No, I don't think he's
Just you know.
He literally
Hypocrisy.
came on.
I
the
think it's a
country.
political
America doesn't
thing.
support Israel.
oh my God, these guys are nutty. Yo, stop. Dude, first of all, Joe Biden never saw that. He never saw anything. He made it up. Even his staffers said he made it up immediately after he said it. And secondly, what the fuck? These guys are not saying America doesn't support Israel, right? Please, oh my
Well,
Lord.
I don't think. Well, America, it's not Joe Biden.
We just wasted $15 billion.
The president of
He
America.
literally-
America is
like
not
a
Joe
different
Biden.
conversation.
Yeah,
America.
we're
He's the
getting into
president,
like
but
Back to the news thing, though. The IDF has an extensive history of lying. They lied about killing Shireen Abu Akleh, the journalist who my mom was friends with. I was going to walk up here, but she wasn't my friend. She was my mom's friend. They said that something else happened to her. Independent investigations came to believe a sniper, while she was wearing, in Jenin, I believe it was,
Yeah.
she was wearing a news report jacket. They murdered her. That's just one example.
That's a good
So the news
example.
lies all the time.
That's a good
Because when it-
example of how
yeah,
they didn't label
yeah,
that correctly.
when it first came, they didn't
she
label it.
says a Palestinian reporter dies. No, she wasn't died. She was killed by a sniper intentionally shot
Also,
between the helmet
Look
and
about
the
what
vest.
happened. Look at the
Shireen?
rocket that fell in the parking lot of Al
Shireen?
Shifa Hospital.
Yeah.
How that was
She was
reported.
That was a catastrophe.
That's so funny. Dude, first of all, not Al Shifa, Al Ahli Hospital. Okay? Now, the reason why you said Al Shifa, however, is because Israel dropped the rocket in Al Shifa too, motherfucker. That's why you mixed up your hospitals. Because they blow all the hospitals up. Okay? Notice how he immediately had to be like, Shireen Abu Akleh. Okay, well, how about the Al Shifa Hospital? No, it's the Al Ahli Hospital. The one is in contention. Okay? But of course, the Al Shifa Hospital was also bombed by Israel too.
But no, I agree that they're
She
probably
was
misreporting
shot.
on both of us.
The same
No,
goes
no, no,
for
no, no.
Rachel
Wait,
Corrie.
say that one more
That
time.
one, that
So,
one.
do you remember the whole big thing about the Al Shifa being bombed by Israel? That hundreds of people had died. That the news came out instantly.
You mean Al Ahli?
That 500
After 2 minutes, after 2
Yes,
minutes,
she's correcting you. She's like, Al Ahli, you mean?
Sorry,
say
wrong
500
hospital.
people got
Yeah, Al
Then
Ahli.
after 2 minutes, they said 500 people, and this Israel had bombed. Every major news outlet reported this.
That's what happened.
Yeah, I can't believe every major news outlet thought that Israel's bombing campaign was continued after Israel had blown up the hospital and said they were going to blow up the hospital. And still to this day, we do not have 100% clarification on whether it was actually a misfired rocket or if it was still, as a matter of fact, Israel blowing up the hospital. Circumstantial evidence still points in the direction of Israel. I will stand by that. The retaliation from Israel in that situation was the worst thing you could have done. Okay? Here's what Hamas did that was also bad. Hamas didn't immediately go up and go, okay, here's the fucking artifact, okay? Here's a piece of the bomb. Look at it. This is an Israeli weapon. Normally, you have that, okay? Normally, you have that. You have a piece of the bomb that you can point to, and then, it's over. It's a wrap. It's 100% Israel. Hamas never said that. Hamas never showed anything. There's no fragments of the bomb. That's very suspicious. Okay? That is very suspicious. However, of course the crater impact, the impact area, the crater itself is not consistent with the Israeli munitions that are used, with the exception of, I guess, artillery. Okay? But one thing to take notice here is that Israel was bombing all the area. Israel was blowing up the whole area near the hospital. Israel had also bombed the hospital 2 days prior. Okay? The idea that, like, it was really fucked up. The idea that it's really fucked up that people assume that it was Israel when, like, The major reason as to why you cannot even fucking verify everything accurately on the ground is because Israel keeps killing goddamn journalists and shutting off the fucking internet is mind-boggling to me.
Happened.
No, it was proven very unequivocally that's not what happened. It was Islamic Jihad rocket
What's your source?
failed. went off.
Unequivocally. Wow, that's crazy. What is his unequivocal what is his unequivocal assessment of the matter? Oh, what is it? A fucking phone conversation that they intercepted?
Blew up in the
So our rockets are that strong.
What's your
No,
source?
it fell. That's why not 500 people didn't die. It would have been a much larger damage if it had been a dropped bomb from an Israeli plane, like they said it was. But it was
500 people died is
But they
not that
didn't-
much damage.
500 people didn't die from that.
But 20,000 overall have.
You know,
That's not what we're talking about.
But I am.
Oh, wait, what do you mean that's not what we're talking about?
I am talking about that. I want to talk about it.
Where'd you get that number?
The Euro
They said
mud
10
help
to 50.
from the UN.
That's what the numbers is that were reported once all of the dust settled from all of the other international organizations. To bring it back to news, to see like the way that some news organizations verify or post later or post earlier but spell things wrong or things like that, it's kind of telling to see how quickly misinformation.
I remember when you said 500. Yes, bitch. Yes, I did. Okay? I said the on-the-ground reporting at the time says 500. I don't think it's 10 to 50. Suck my dick. I still think the casualty numbers, we will never know what the actual casualty numbers is until the quote-unquote dust settles. But at that point, it's too far gone, okay? At that point, it's too far gone because you know what? 10,000 extra people have died since then. But guess what? I also said 1,500 Israelis were killed on October 7th, okay? And then what happened? We found out that it wasn't 1,500 Israelis that were killed on October 7th. It was actually 1,200 Israelis that were killed on October 7th. Remember that? You want to know why nobody ever comes to me and says, Hasan, you're a Zionist shill. You are a liar for the state of Israel because you said 1,500 Israelis were killed. And now that number has been reduced to 1,200. Do you want to know why nobody says that? Because nobody gives a shit, okay? Because one side can get away with misinformation. Not deliberate, mind you. I at least understand that, of course, in the fog of war, there are going to be issues with reporting. That is why when some people tried to say, look, they're reducing the Israeli casualty number, okay? They're reducing the Israeli casualty number on October 7. Look at that. Oh, my God. That's a little indecent. What did I say? I said, of course that's going to happen, okay? Of course that's going to happen because in the fog of war, it is almost impossible to make the full-blown perfect assessment of casualties, okay? Your community got cringe. Did Hassan fall off 312? Bitch, shut up. You've been coming in here to shit on me for years, dude. Suck my dick. Following this is 2021. Just remember that. Just remember that, okay? When people tried to come in here and be like, oh, Israel's lying about the casualty numbers, I corrected them and I said, listen, this kind of shit happens, okay? This kind of shit happens in the fog of war. It's understandable. But God forbid, the Palestinian side doesn't get the facts immediately correct when they have no internet, when they have nothing, when they're getting fucking blown up with respect to the casualty numbers, which the United States intelligence even said is 100 to 300, by the way. Okay? God forbid they're off. Then holy shit, they must be lying. They must be lying deliberately at a time when 20,000 Palestinians have been slaughtered.
Information can spread. I will say social media can't just be completely dismissed because it does present sort of a firsthand perspective. However, I prefer to get my firsthand perspective from my friends and my family on the ground. And I think that that's the news that, if anything, I was kind of more hoping to hear from today about, because I feel like that's the personal experiences that we're not actually getting to hear from each other online or on the news. And I think that that's kind of the firsthand news that people should be sharing. You know, me personally, like I get the rocket alarm app on my phone, but I also get a text from like 8 different WhatsApp group chats, you know, when rockets happen, is everybody okay? Is everybody okay? So I think that that's also a really important news source. And I would ideally love to be able to share firsthand news like that with people like you and also receive it from you as well. I think that that's the most reliable info we can get.
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
Bro, if you're not I feel like not living in Israel and having that is like not living in Los Angeles, like living in it's like living in Naperville and having crime alerts on for like Compton. You know what I mean? It's like, bro, don't worry about it. What the are you doing? Why do you have that shit on? It doesn't make any sense. I've talked about this already. Yeah, the Citizen app and apps like this create like mania among the American population in ways that we still haven't been able to figure out, really. I think it definitely plays a role in how reactionary people have become. Come on, she probably has family there. Bro, it still doesn't matter. I'm telling you, if you live in Los Angeles, having the neighbor app or the Citizen app is not good for your mentality, let alone if you don't live in Los Angeles and have the fucking Citizen app for Los Angeles from a place thousands of miles away. Do you not see what I'm saying? Yeah, Nextdoor, Citizen, apps like this break people's brains. I know, I had the Ring app. It's crazy. Constantly causing you to live in fear. How do you not understand what I'm trying to say here? Yeah, it's obviously not good for mental health, but I do the same for family back home during war. Yeah, that shit is, if there are no rockets being fired in your vicinity, it's definitely not good to have the rocket app, okay? It's not good. Just like even when you are literally, okay, even when you're literally living in Los Angeles, it's not good to have Citizen and apps like that, especially because it makes you feel like crime is happening all around.
I have a lot of friends who have family directly there, so they do get, photos and videos when there's internet access, but I was sitting with one of my friends one day when he called me hysterical at 7 a.m. and told me his parents had just called him and told him to say his goodbyes to them because the bombs were getting closer to their house. And
yeah, back in the day, I mean, not to cut through her emotional statement here, but back in the day, we used to make fun of nutty motherfuckers who listen to the police radio scanner. You know what I mean? Like the kooky ass, Y2K ass. Now it's so normalized because we have the Citizen app that like every white wine mom can feel like a kooky ass Y2K psychopath. It's so unhealthy.
Fear in his voice really suffocated me, and I didn't know what to do for him, so he came over. We tried calling his family. His parents weren't picking up. I didn't know what to do for him, he's like, my parents are gonna die. I'm in America and I can't be there for them. And I had never seen or been in a situation where I've had someone so close to me dealing with something like that. I mean, he literally stayed by my side the entire day until we were able to verify that his family was going to be okay and that they finally moved away from their neighborhood. And so they're still safe to this day. But, seeing videos directly from friends, like you said, like on the ground, just has another layer of devastation because it makes you realize these are like real people that are connected to the suffering. A lot of times because news agencies can't really be on the ground in certain hot areas like that, it's good to have people that are reliable that you can connect with and get that information from. Mm-hmm. And it brings an extra layer, I think, of just humanity, because it's not just some like corporation that's, reporting on the news. It's someone real that's like there in the midst of it.
We need that. We need that because a lot of our casualties are not reported on. Mm-hmm. In fact, this morning, I was in the bathroom on my phone, as we do, and I looked up children killed. I was trying to find a specific child, and there was 4 that came up. 5 total. 2 of them, again, from like several hours ago, right? And then there was 4 others that died 3 days ago in Jenin, right? A 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 19-year-old, right? And it was so difficult to find. There were 0 Western sources reporting on this. I had to search it in Arabic for their names to come up in the Palestinian casualty roll. And it was almost impossible. I was shocked that there was 4 below 18, one of them 19, minors that died, and I could not find this reporting. I'm like, wait, I'll Google it. Oh, it'll come up. Oh, here, and it just wouldn't come up. It's like, so yeah, we need to have people on the ground, the Mu'taz Azaizas, the others like him that are reporting, because there is a bias against us. And our stories are being hidden. They are being erased.
All I'm trying to get you to see is that it's the same on both sides.
It's not. That's delusion. That's straight up delusion. You know, this is something I see all the time. When you actually start addressing how devastating the circumstances are, especially when someone is like a real, Palestinian in the flesh, being like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, my family members are being killed. Then the subject matter turns. Then it's like, well, it's actually both sides. It's not both sides, man. It's not. That's delusional. There's no both sidesing this. Every single Israeli casualty has not only been assessed, addressed, but has gotten coverage from family members in Western media. You physically could not do that for the Palestinians anyway, because the numbers are so vast, right? But it certainly doesn't happen in the Western media. You guys can cope all you want and be like, oh, well, in Arabic news, they cover it from the Palestinian side. And it's like, yeah, of course they do, dog. Of course they do. Like, someone has to.
But it can't be the exact same.
I feel
it can't. It's either one side's stories are buried, and the others are highlighted.
I think both sides can be buried. Clearly they are, because I'm not trying to invalidate your experience, but you're trying to invalidate mine. I'm telling you,
No, man. No, it's not your experience. This is not. Oh, fuck, I hate this shit. Bro, saying this is a both sides circumstance is just denying reality that it's not a both sides circumstance. Your experience is not being invalidated by the Palestinians, is being invalidated by the truth. I don't know, man. You have my undying respect for covering this man with such honesty. This is the first time I have turned off the stream because of the level of dehumanizing attitudes is extremely triggering. No, it's just like, listen, dude. There is no like campus professor or college students being fucking expelled or fired for literally going up and being like, you should fucking do more genocide. Okay? Whereas on the Palestinian side, students, Jewish students, non-Jewish students, are getting fucking expelled or suspended from school. A president of an Ivy League institution resigned due to pressure from donors for even allowing there to be pro-Palestinian student activism on campus. Get the fuck out of here. There is no both sizing this. There is none. If you talk about anti-Semitism, I'm with you, okay? I'm with you. Anti-Semitism is a bigotry. It's a horrifying bigotry. It happens all the fucking time in America, in the Western world, in Arab countries. Sure, it happens everywhere, okay? But when you turn around and conflate anti-Semitism with anti-Zionism, then you've lost me, you know? Here comes the Ofer Kazif quote. I'm not even going to say it. I'm not. Guy has campus police haircut pissing me off. That's funny. He does have the fuck ass bob, but for men.
Maybe from different publications.
Exactly. Sure. Let's say it's from different. But the media overall, I'm telling you.
From what we're suffering, it feels to me like we're in a movie and we are the actors.
Like I wish I was there, man. I want to be like, what do you want? Like, what do you want? What do you want? What do you actually want? Do you want like, because if your goal is like, oh, well, they're not covering the Israeli plight enough. It's like, what more do you want? I think they cover the Israeli plight just enough. Maybe a little bit too much in comparison to the atrocities committed by Israel against Palestinians, especially at this stage in the ethnic cleansing campaign. You know, it's been 2 months. Like, what do you want? You have literally pretty much every single person in control of American institutions unconditionally and unequivocally supporting Israel. And then on top of that, they're literally on the defense for not being as unequivocally and unconditionally in support of Israel enough, and not like firing people or not firing enough people or not expelling enough students, and you're still like, no, it's not enough. Like, what do you want? You want to fucking execute some Jewish Voice for Peace activists or some shit? Like, is that what you want? You want to line them up? What do you want? Take out a Palestinian and shoot him? Paralyze him maybe from the neck down? Because that happened too. What do you want?
Actors, and we are the puppets, and there is some people out there that are watching the movie and just enjoy and eating their fruits. And there is a lot of people suffering in this. Listen, I'm listening to you. I swear, I want to cry. I swear, no one in this world, and I don't care what size, if it's a Palestinian or Jewish or Ukrainian or Russian, supposed to live under bombs. No freaking way.
Agreed.
And I'm talking to you as a veteran, as someone who...
Bro, that's so disrespectful of him. Bro, yeah, none of them are veterans. You want to know why? Just think about that. You're a veteran of the IDF. You get to fucking get on here and talk about how you're a veteran of the IDF. Okay? These guys can't even mourn their dead without you, the veteran of the IDF, or mourn victims of the Israeli occupation without you, the veteran of the IDF, scolding them and saying that they're terror babies.
Who was there inside? As someone who volunteered to carry all those? As someone who has friends Muslims? No one. And you know what? All of my friends also in Israel, no one wants to go into Gaza. We are afraid. It's afraid.
Yeah, we know.
Out of us to go into Gaza. We didn't want
you know
to
how
as,
sad that
as
is?
friends, as kids. I went there when I was 19 years old. We don't want to go there. Absolutely, we don't want to.
But that's sad.
We don't want to. It's super sad, bro.
get killed
It's
if you
super
go
sad.
there.
What I'm trying to say is that, listen, you're talking about a publication. We are talking also about a publication. We have the same fucking problem. We are suffering from the same shit. And some people out there watching,
And it's like you said, we're puppets.
and we are puppets, and we are playing. We play the game of our game. You play the game of your game, and we are like there is some clash here, and some people are benefit from this. Now look,
Our governments.
the news outlets or social media. What's the difference? Everyone has an agenda.
We can agree that Al Jazeera definitely has more of a sympathy and a bias towards the Palestinian struggle, just like we can agree Western countries and media.
Yeah, bro, just say they have a bias towards the Palestinian struggle, which is the correct bias to have. Just say it, dog.
Outlets have unequivocally always supported Israel.
Maybe
Now it's a little less
Maybe
biased.
some, yes,
now it's a
maybe
little
not.
less biased.
No,
Yes,
it's
they
never
have.
like that.
Yes, they have.
Some do, perhaps, but not, you can't say the entire, every
Oh, Western
media
media
outlet in all of America is
Have
all...
you ever heard?
We're talking about the major ones.
Yeah, go ahead.
CNN, Fox.
Let me say
CNN
something.
hates
CNN,
us.
bro?
CNN
Oh my God.
hates
CNN.
us.
Oh, because they're being more honest now. That hates
No,
you?
they've always hated
Because they're
us.
showing the children
CNN
dying in
is
Gaza?
all-
No,
So if
no,
there's
that's how we
no-
felt.
That's not what we
Can I
felt.
just say
That's how we
Yeah.
felt.
Is it a fact that U.S. sends money to Israel?
Yes.
And the media also backs
But U.S. also
government
sends
and
money
media
to
works
Palestine.
Yeah, they do.
They also just released a ton of money to Iran.
Yo, talk to me when they give some Tamir interceptors and the Iron Dome to Gaza. Talk to me when we're giving them F-16s. We rebuilt the airport, and now F-16s are dropping Mark 84 JDAM guided munitions. Okay, get out of here. That's crazy. Oh yeah, are they dropping Hellfire missiles that they got from the American government? Shut up. Oh, they give money to the Palestinians too. It's like, yeah, dude. As someone whose community, this community raised $1.2 million for Palestinians, you know how many hoops you got to jump through to even get aid into Gaza? Get out of here.
The U.S. is the biggest pot stirrer in this whole thing. The Jimmy Carter.
Well,
the whole
it's
thing.
just-
I mean, it's like they love to cause trouble in the region.
I would say
It's
Are there
just like
There are a
you
lot of
said.
national
Are there
it's not just
Zionists?
America.
No,
there's-
we're
there's
puppets.
Russia,
The
there's
Israel-Palestine
China.
conflict brought to you by Qatar,
ideology
Iran,
over there.
U.S.,
We're
Russia,
all
everybody that has no
power.
actual direct interest and just
Israel.
wants to mess with us. That's the issue.
But and it's like he said, we are sitting here like puppets.
Yeah, I know. America is trying to ensure stability in the fucking region, despite the fact that Israel's doing its very best to ruin it. And America's doing it at the behest of Israel in general. That's awesome. Really up. It should be just Israel and Israel alone. Everything else is biased.
While all of our governments still play us. But this, however, this is what I do have a problem with, and you can agree, disagree. Every time, and again, with all due respect, right? We're trying to find a middle ground here, but hear me out before we all go, rah, okay? For 75 years of illegal occupation, we have been bleeding and we have been suffering. Whether you want to hear it or not, please respect that that's what we're saying. I get it. I understand. Maybe if I was sitting on your side, okay? But just have some, I'm asking for compassion? Where is the humanity? And every time we say, well, this Palestinian person was unalived by Israeli forces or this and that, it's no
Oh my gosh, you're so TikTok brain.
offense. Then on the Israeli side, yeah, but what about us? Okay, 10,000 Palestinians just were unalived and bombed in Gaza. Then the Israelis. What about us? We have been bleeding and crying for 75 years. When is it our turn to mourn?
You're right.
In terms of bias of the media, Western media, against Palestinians, have you ever heard a Western publication state that Palestine has the right to defend itself? Follow-up question. Do any of you believe...
No, let it sit. Let it sit. Let it sit. Ooh, that's a good one. Let that sit. That's a good one, dude. That's such a good one. We should all just let that cook a little bit inside of our minds. Because under international law, Palestinians do have a right to defend themselves. Israel, on the other hand, does not. Israel is a belligerent occupier. They do not have a legal right to defend themselves from the Palestinian occupants, okay? Here's how Israel defends itself from Palestinians: by abolishing, ending the apartheid state. That's the only legal way that they have a right to defend themselves. Not by blowing up Gaza, not by fucking up the West Bank, no checkpoints, none of that shit. All of that is illegal.
that Palestine has a right to defend itself?
The first question is actually really interesting. I haven't. That's actually a really interesting
Is
question.
that indicative of a bias?
No, because I'd like to answer the second
No.
question. I'd like to answer the second. I think that there's a bias against both of us, by the way. I don't disagree with
Oh, I'm
that.
biased.
No, the news. I think
Yeah.
news is biased towards both of us. And
Am I wrong to say October 7th happened? I would agree with you that Israel should maybe not have created it in the first place, but they were clearly attacked. No? Yes. Yes, of course October 7th happened. It did. Why the fuck why would I deny that? It is a real thing that happened. But you can't, you can defend yourself against October 7th. That's not what Israel's doing right now, is it? Is that what Israel's doing? October 7th didn't happen out of nowhere. It was so expected, not unexpected. It was so expected that the Israeli interior security forces had openly stated that Israel's actions in the West Bank was going to cause a national security concern. Everybody saw it coming from a mile away, and nobody did anything about it. So in the one instance where Israel did have a right to defend itself, they didn't even do that. What did Israel do instead? They went on the offensive, immediately started bombing Gaza. It's crazy. The one time that Israel did have a right to defend itself, it didn't even do that. It went immediately in the offensive.
I think we're coming to an understanding of that. However, I think the second question is also very interesting because the way that we see it, we are never on the offensive. The way that I get that you guys disagree. Just hear me out, because I think this is where there's a huge misunderstanding. Okay, from Israel's perspective, we've offered peace so many different times. From our perspective, we have diplomatically offered peace so many times.
Yeah, I mean, you're just saying like I'm brainwashed. Like it's just like what am I supposed to do? I can't. Like this is the problem with this kind of argumentation. Like you're not arguing with facts at that point. You're arguing against a person's own personal biases. It's like dealing with a fucking flat earther. It's like dealing with an anti-vaxxer. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, I'm sorry, but at a certain point, we got to look at the fucking facts of the matter. You know what I mean? And like your own standpoint theory doesn't work in this situation, because there are actual facts, like historical facts that we can look at. The notion that like Israel has offered real peace agreements to the Palestinian side and has like desperately looked for a partner in security is ridiculous. Look at the West Bank. That's what you get with Palestinian cooperation.
And it's always responded to with war and violence. And so from our perspective, we would never initiate those wars or violences.
Can you counter this argument? Because I don't know what to say when someone says it. It's a lie. There have been accounts. There have been personal accounts and personal assessments of the peace process, and the negotiations were always incredibly lopsided. One, you cannot negotiate with your captive, okay? You just can't do that. How can a captive negotiate with their jailer? It's not from a position of equality. Negotiations can only start when there's some semblance of equality. Palestinians at that point are not considered to have a nation state. They're considered a terror cell that disarmed themselves. Okay? And in that peace process, a two-state solution has always been consistently dangled in the face of the Palestinians and dangled and kicked down the line over and over again, specifically to consistently expand on the settlement building and the denial of a real nation state to the Palestinians that was afforded to them under international law. It's not real. Anybody that says Israelis actually gave him a fair shake is just completely and utterly incorrect. Here, this is a good article by John Schwartz, written on November 28th. All the times Israel's rejected peace with Palestinians. British Peel Commission. I mean, it goes all the way back to the British Peel Commission. UN 1947. 1947 partition gives Israelis, or Jews at this point, before the inception of the nation state of Israel, okay, under British mandatory Palestine, offers Palestinians who have lived there for centuries at this point 45% of the land, as opposed to the Jewish migrants that came in as settler colonial, as a settler colonialist project by the British, which comprised of 20 to 30% of the population. They give them 55% of the land. Unacceptable. Violence erupts. The Nakba happens. There's marginal defensive posturing from nearby Arab nations. Okay? Which is nothing in comparison to the obvious violence and the direct ethnic displacement of 750,000 Palestinians. Emergence of the PLO. After 1967 war, the international consensus gradually came to be that peace would be required for the creation of a Palestinian state. Now, after that, by the way, some of it goes into Jordan, also a colonial project, colonial cutout. Jordanians controlled the West Bank. Egypt controls the Palestinian, obviously its own territories, plus the Gaza Strip. 1967, PLO is created. I'm going to fucking go through these, I'm going to burn past these and get to what you know as the modern peace process, okay? The PLO's weakness made Arafat eager to accept a terrible deal in the 1993 Oslo Accords, which was fucking dog shit in general, and yet Palestinians were still, they were divided on the subject, but obviously, they still considered Yasser Arafat to be an incredibly and profoundly popular figurehead for being able to negotiate with the state of Israel, the occupying force of Israel. So much so that he got 86% of the votes in the presidential election the first time that was ever conducted. Israel, on the other hand, saw the one guy willing to fucking even negotiate with the Palestinians directly as such an aberration, such a gross abomination, as a matter of fact, that they assassinated him. And the guys who called for his assassination, Benjamin Netanyahu, Itamar Ben-Gvir, and the like, were elected over and over and over again in every election cycle after Yitzhak Rabin's assassination. So just so you understand, which side has what kind of interest in the peacemaking, as far as, the attitudes from the Israeli side versus the attitudes from the Palestinian side, just understand. You say that like a suspicion or something. No, there's no suspicion. Yeah. By the way, at the point of the peace process before he was assassinated, Israel Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin explicitly explained, "We do not accept the Palestinian goal of an independent Palestinian state between Israel and Jordan. We believe there is a separate Palestinian entity short of a state." He called it state minus. What happened then was exactly what anyone paying attention to would anticipate. The PLO essentially took over security for Israel in some 18% of the occupied territories. Israel solely controlled about 60% and shared responsibility for the remainder, and enriched itself while the occupation and Palestinian misery continued unabated. But by the end of Bill Clinton's second term in the summer of 2000, he was eager to leave a legacy other than his affair with Monica Lewinsky, so he cajoled Arafat to come to Camp David to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak in hopes of conjuring a conflict-ending agreement. Palestinian attitude was just that they had already made a gigantic compromise by accepting just the 22% of historic Palestine for their state. They were willing to compromise still more, but not much more. Barak had no understanding of this. At Camp David, he offered the Palestinians what were essentially 3 disconnected Bantustans, the equivalent of a separate black homeland in apartheid South Africa and the West Bank, with Israel occupying and controlling the border with Jordan for some long period of time. Jeffrey Epstein's bestie, Ehud Barak. Long afterwards, Shlomo Ben Ami, a key Israeli negotiator at the talk, said, Camp David was not the missed opportunity for Palestinians, and if I were a Palestinian, I would have rejected Camp David as well. People always say, oh, Camp David was rejected. Camp David was rejected. At this point, at the point of Camp David's rejection, there was no fucking real position at all. One of the major points of contention at Camp David was Israel occupying Jerusalem permanently. Arafat had lost all semblance of popularity that he had. People looked to the Israeli deals and negotiations as simply a continuation of the West Bank expansionist policies, settlement expansion. The 86% popularity he had in the beginning stage of the peace process had completely withered away because Israel used the PLO just like it uses the Palestinian Authority and Fatah as a fucking a part of its security apparatus to apprehend Palestinian leadership that it doesn't like. Clinton had promised Arafat that he would not blame him if the talks failed. He then reneged after the summit ended and immediately blamed him. Nonetheless, the Israelis and Palestinians continued to negotiate through the fall and narrow their differences. Clinton came up with what he called parameters for a 2-state solution in December 2000. Several weeks afterwards, Clinton proclaimed both Minister Barak and Chairman Arafat have now accepted these parameters as the basis for further efforts. Both have expressed some reservations. In the 22 years since, Bill Clinton has lied over and over again about what happened, claiming that Arafat was the one who rejected a settlement. He did not. There are documented accounts of the Camp David settlement, the Accords, and how it fell apart. You can go and find them if you would like to. This article briefly mentions them. I've covered some of them as well myself. Part of the problem is, 1, there was a deliberate attempt of not allowing any kind of media or any kind of communications at any of these accords, except that was violated by the Israeli side over and over again. The Palestinian side, on the other hand, had nothing. They didn't even bring they barely brought anything beyond notebooks. They were dealing with the Israeli side that was leaking information that was favorable to them while they didn't have anything. The American side certainly was on the Israeli side as well. The deals that were put together, albeit confidential, were developed on napkins, okay? Like hastily drawn shit. Time and time again, this is consistent. One of the major points of contention always was Israel's maintenance and permanent occupation of Jerusalem. This was a non-starter for Arafat. Why? Even if he wanted to give Jerusalem to Israel, he was not allowed to make this decision on his own. Jerusalem has significance for the entire Jewish, the entire Christian, and the entire Muslim population of the world. To offer it unconditionally to Israel is not a thing that Arafat can do. He personally said time and time again throughout these conversations, this is also well documented, that you are signing my death warrant. You want me assassinated. I say yes to this, and you will come and visit my funeral a month later. That didn't change anything, really. Quoting Michael Collins. What? There's also the fact that Shlomo Ben Ami admitted that post-Camp David, he believed the workable deal was being developed and was relayed to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister gave go-ahead for discussions on a basis of preliminary goals of the deal. The following morning, Ben Ami got a call from the Minister of Defense saying the generals had stated they wouldn't allow the deal to go ahead on national security grounds. What brand are those utility pants I saw you wearing at the forge? I work 9 hours of hard production labor a day so you can use your phone and computer. Help a friend in need. I don't remember. Probably Carhartt, though. Hard utility, hard production labor. Anyway, Barak was nonetheless defeated by Ariel Sharon, who did not want a Palestinian state and did not restart the talks. The Israeli Minister of Foreign Affairs declared that the Clinton parameters are not binding on the new government to be formed in Israel. At this point, also, Barak was on his way out regardless, okay? The idea that he had any popularity was ridiculous. So, time and time again, anytime they were quote-unquote close to peace negotiations and not dealing with someone who straight up was telling him that his goal is to destroy the Palestinian peace process openly and ran on shit like that, like, for example, Benjamin Netanyahu, was always with an unpopular figure in Israel that was on his way out, whether it be Yitzhak Rabin or Ehud Barak. Clinton then made a fateful, disastrous decision. In the 22 years since, he has lied over and over again about what happened, claiming that Arafat was the one who rejected a settlement. This has convinced both Israelis and Americans that Clinton made every effort to give Palestinians a state. But it was impossible because in what became a standard formulation, there was no partner for peace on the Palestinian side. Hillary Clinton, who was elected in the Senate in 2000 and later became Secretary of State, also joined in this key deception. Anyway, and then it gets into the Olmer offer. I'm not really interested in any of that shit. You can go read it. Maybe we'll cover it another day. Because I've covered all of this so many fucking times. Notice how long it took for me to go through step by step of and give you the briefest, most top-down, most reductive analyses of the peace process, because it takes 1 second to be like, the Palestinians were no partner in peace to Israelis. Well, for me to go through and detail the steps and tell you what it really was like takes multiple top of the hour ad breaks. Multiple times. At the top of every hour, there's a 3-minute ad break.
Had they not been initiated towards us, that's why we call ourselves the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces. So for us, that's our perspective. And right now, unequivocally, if there were no terrorist attacks, so much of what is happening just simply would not exist. Everything that's been in place, the blockades, the this, the that, and the other, they all came after as responses. So when we disengaged from Gaza in 2005, we did not have the blockades that existed. We did not have the blockades that existed now. Why did those happen? Because in the following years, right after that, rockets immediately started flying from Gaza. Terror attacks immediately started coming out. So for us, we have done, from our perspective, right? From our perspective, this is how we view it. We are constantly offering diplomatic concessions that are turned down with violence, and often with violence on some of our holiest days. So from your perspective, defending yourself, I feel very bad that this is the difference in perception, because I can understand where you're coming from in feeling frustrated that the use defense is not used in your, for you guys, for your side. And so I can understand how that would be very frustrating. But from our perspective, this is where we're coming from.
Our children should not inherit this conflict.
I'm glad that everybody stepped forward.
Yeah, it's crazy that she just constantly gets the last word, man.
Because I think it's important that, you know, at the very, like, you know, foundation of what we're doing here today, that we all agree that this isn't a way to live, and we can't keep suffering. I'm glad that everybody stepped forward. That keep suffering, you know, more heartbreak and more losses. You know, I always used to say, like, you know, my parents used to tell me that when they had children, that they had hoped, you know, Palestine would be free and we would be able to go back and live a life without any hardship. And, you know, now I have people my age, you know, who have children, my sisters, and, you know, a lot of family members who have kids themselves, and, you know, having to have that conversation and talk about who we are as a people and our history and what we've been through, and, you know, passing on that intergenerational trauma, you know, that continues to be carried, you know, from our great-grandparents all the way down to us. It's heartbreaking, and this isn't a world that we should be allowing something like this to perpetuate. Yeah, it would be great for everybody to be able to go and to live and to, yeah, walk the beaches and visit the holy sites and not have to fear for their life while doing it.
This is like, who wants to live like this forever? This is crazy. If I'm going to bring kids into this world enough.
Yeah, who has the power, though? Who's the power player in this role, in this quote unquote conflict, if you want to call it that? I don't want to call it that. I want to call it ethnic cleansing. I want to call it what it is. Who's the power player? Who controls the keys of the castle? Who sets the standard of violence? Israel.
Enough is enough, and I don't want to live in a world without the optimism that peace is a possibility. I really don't. I think that that's like a world to live in. I refuse to believe that as a younger generation, as a newer, smarter, more informed generation, that we can't come together and make something tangible actually happen for our kids. And I totally agree.
And I think the only way to do that is for people on both sides to recognize each other, and that
I agree.
We're gonna disagree on whatever, but like, one side has their story, their truth, their lived experience. The other has the same. we don't have to convince the other to see it the exact same way. We just have to see each other and acknowledge that we're both in this situation and we both want to get out of it, and let's treat each other like human beings and find the way out of it.
Jonah, what's your involvement in this?
What do you mean?
What's your involvement in this conflict that we were speaking about?
I'm a Jew.
Oh.
So,
Can we not?
like, where are you from? Like, where do you live?
I live in Los Angeles.
Where were you born?
Los Angeles.
Okay. It's easy for you to say what you said, and even though I agree with what you said, that we do need to be able to see eye to eye. We do need to be able to find a future for our children.
That's it. He just said, I'm a Jew.
But respectfully, you were born in Los Angeles. You were raised in Los Angeles. One of the best places in the world. I love it, right?
Yeah.
You don't have the answer to this conflict, to this occupation.
So
I'm
does the
sorry.
people from Jordan. Sorry,
Jonah's thoughts on this conflict are not invalid just because he was born in
didn't say
LA,
they're
and
invalid.
I
I
think
said
that's
I
crazy to
agree.
sort of invalidate.
I said I agree with his sentiments,
so don't
but he's still
disqualify
from
him.
Los Angeles.
But you're still DQing him to a degree by saying he's born in LA.
Respectfully.
I just don't think that that's right. I think that he has a lot of
Like, at least if you have family in Israel, like, at least if you have family in Israel, like, fine, you love the genocide, you know, your family loves the genocide, maybe. I'm not going to make this fucking assertion of your family, but I can make it from you because, like, you've said it, right? But, like, what the fuck is it to you if you're in LA? Just, like, you have every opportunity to not be a shithead. Now you're just like a willing participant of the genocide for no fucking reason. Like, you just straight up were like, no, dog, let me clarify something before you think otherwise, okay? I do love genocide. I'm a fucking fan, dog. Okay, go live in Israel then, motherfucker. Why are you living in LA? What is this? What the fuck? No. I like it from afar. Okay? I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the genocide from afar. I think it's fucking sick. I love it. I don't want to go there. I don't like that because desert climate, not great for me. I just like it. I'm a fan of what's going on, the activities being conducted in the apartheid state. I am a fan of. Like, that's the thing I don't understand. That's the thing I will never get. And I have way more smoke. I have way more smoke for the Christian Zionists, as you guys know, because that, like, is even one step further, because it's like, at least he probably, as a Jewish dude growing up in Los Angeles, like, probably went to Jewish school, like, camp, you know what I mean? Maybe even birthright, right? So, like, there's at least a level of indoctrination that makes this more permissible. Christian Zionists are just, like, straight up. They're like, no, you don't understand. Muslims being killed, Arabs being killed, fucking A-OK. Love it. Fucking love it. What's your stake in apartheid South Africa? I am white. If you went on there and just said, I'm here because I'm a Muslim, they'd be so pissed. No, that's the thing. I don't defend Palestinians because, like, I come from a Muslim background. I defend Palestinians because they're being ethnically cleansed. Like, that's my stake, because I think it's fucking ridiculous that my tax dollars are going there to kill Palestinian babies. I think that that's fucked up, and I wanted to stop. That's crazy. It's just like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense that he's just like riding for this shit. I don't understand it. But like I said, it's so much worse, especially worse when it's Christian Zionists. Like, it's especially worse. Because then it's just like, you have even less connection than this guy. Okay? At least that guy from I assume, because, like, you're not born a Zionist. It doesn't work that way. Like, someone had to tell you, like, no, this is actually pretty pog. Like, it has to happen. The Holocaust happened. It could happen again. Like, we have to have a Jewish ethnostate. This is the only way to stop it from happening again. And that is, like, kind of the vibes overall of, like, how this shit sticks early on. But if you're a Christian, it's like, the fuck is it to you, man? Where did this come from? Anyway, let's continue.
skin in the game, family in Israel. He was just there with
Jewish
me in
getting
April.
attacked
That's
all
wrong.
over. I think actually there is a big room for people that comes from different countries and they feel hurt from some reason, from social media or whatever, and come and say what they think about the situation.
The problem is there's not going to...
Yeah, everybody has a say in this, dog. You have the opportunity to be on the right side of the conflict, but like everybody does have. If you're an American, you should have a say in the matter. You're a power player, whether you recognize it or not. You know what I mean?
I don't believe that this is gonna end as long as Palestinians are oppressed, put into blockades in Gaza, put into all these different things that they don't have freedom. I've gone there, I've lived there for months at a time, 4 different occasions. I went to Jerusalem, my cousin couldn't come with me. These type of things are not gonna ensure peace. What's gonna, or raiding of Al-Aqsa, or going into Jenin and refugee camp, all these things. So of course,
Check your
of course, these are, come on, these are valid.
Check your sources, my friend.
Let him
Why they're
finish.
going to
Just
Jenin
finish.
because
I hate him. God, he's so annoying. At least like the two people next to him keep being like, okay, dude, chill out.
It's besides the point. It's besides the point.
But what I'm saying is, in my,
Bro with the broccoli cut hitting him with the check your sources, dude. What the fuck do you mean? Like a fucking Palestinian from the West Bank not being able to go to Jerusalem? Like that's a check your sources? What do you think? Why? Why do you think you can say this and get away with it? Why is there no fact checking? To be fair though, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see what the fact checking for Jubilee would be on this situation.
what I believe,
And then I'll respond.
It was
What's
the
your
nine.
source?
Was
Let
the,
him finish,
Yeah.
please.
IDF,
the IDF's not a valid
and
source.
BBC.
It's a biased source. I think we have disagreements on what we think needs to happen to end. You think, oh well, everybody disarm on the Palestinian side and submit. I think that they're
Is
not
that what
going
I said?
Yeah.
Did anybody hear
said
me
you.
say
No,
that?
not
You
you.
just pointed at me and said
Not
that that's
you.
what I
Who
said.
said that?
he said it.
Who said that?
He said it.
Okay.
What I said.
Well, then I apologize for that. But I think that the solution would be to end the occupation, the Israeli occupation.
And I totally hear that, but as I said, there's two sides to every story. So the Israeli side would be, well, they need to stop having terrorist attacks in Israel, and we can stop at this. That's why I'm saying we can go back and forth. A lot of things need to happen from a lot of parties. It's going to require a lot of outside parties having influence from the Arab region and the U.S., bringing people to the table, making things happen. If we're just stuck in the intra-fighting of I'm there, we're hating each other,
That's not what I said.
It's never
either,
going to get
though.
anywhere.
And the occupation is absolutely the problem. So even though you said this is how I think it'll be resolved, it needs to be the other countries and people need to come together. I'm saying that the root of the problem is the oppression. And it's the land theft,
And
the
I
constant
hear that from
settlements.
your side.
Yeah. Well, that's most people in the world think that.
But is there
I'd
objective
love
truth?
to. I would love to
there
actually
objective truth?
respond to what you're
but
saying.
There's also
objective
objective
truth.
truth to both sides. That's what I'm
Objective
saying.
There is.
No, there isn't. What the fuck? Dude, this is literally Trump shit. Which, of course, no wonder. #1 politician in Israel. Fuck you mean, bro? He said alternative facts.
Objective truth doesn't have two sides.
Yeah.
There actually, I
Objective
think-
truth is truth.
Yeah,
Is there,
the
that's what my
Nakba-
question was. Is
So,
there objective
I
Are
truth?
you married?
I would.
No.
There's objective truth to both sides, I promise you.
That's actually hilarious.
Is,
Wait, that's so weird that he said that. Like my bitch wife, my bitch wife thinks she's right. Okay, well, even then, like, do you think she's right or do you think she's wrong? And you're criticizing her all the time. A little bit weird to just like compare ethnic cleansing and apartheid to fucking your marriage, but goddamn, maybe your marriage sucks, dog. I don't know.
but that
I would love to answer you because I actually think that this is a really important.
Respond. Yeah. I didn't ask a question.
Sorry, I would like to respond to you. Apologize for using the word answer. I would love to speak to you just openly because I think what you said is really important and it's something that I've thought of for many years. There's a really good book called Catch 67 by Mika Goodman. Both the right and the left hate it equally, so you know it's pretty decent. And it talks about the idea that we can't look at everything from a non-binary perspective. So we can't look at it as peace or no peace because you're right. Tensions need to be limited. Relations need to grow. We can't just like immediately offer something and then boom, it's accepted. And then boom. We've been trying that for the last however many years and it hasn't worked.
Yeah, but
so I agree that we do need to minimize we need to improve, the day-to-day lives of both Israelis and Palestinians. Travel within the West Bank is a huge issue. And Catch 67 talks about that and potentially building a road that's Palestinian controlled through all of the cities to be able to improve travel and transport. So there aren't these sort of weird blockades or blockages that where you can't bring your friend to somewhere or you can't visit a cousin who's in a different.
It's a weird blockade or blockage, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're checkpoints for, Palestinians. There's no Palestinians allowed checkpoints. Not like a little blockage.
Town. There's actually a lot of really awesome orgs that are working on these sort of tangible, actionable items that we can do to improve the situation and the lives on the ground. And if anything, I think in the last 4 or 5 years, what we've seen with the Abraham Accords, bringing peace between so many nations in Israel in the Arab countries, to me, as a Moroccan Jew, I almost cried at the thought of peace between my countries. It's like reconciling my two identities. Excuse me, let me please finish. Reconciling my two identities to me was so special. And
dude, there's so much identity politics associated in this fucking circumstance. It's like, she's doing a bodies and spaces speed run. And it's like, dude, none of this changes the fact that it's a fucking apartheid state. Like, I don't understand. What? This is what Jonah posted. There are more moderate, good-hearted people on this planet than extremists. Most of us want us to two sides coexist. People who want to see Israel erased is people ethnically cleansed. People who support Hamas terrorists, even as they treat the Palestinians as human shields and discardable pawns in their war for Jewish blood. That is not being pro-Palestinian, it's being anti-Israel. I'm so done with the term pro-Palestinian. Every liberal person on earth is pro-Palestinian, including liberal Israelis.
And so that, to me, was one of the things that we've done, bringing in, many people from Gaza with work visas into Israel to be able to work in
Getting
Israel.
out of Gaza
having
in
a number.
2005.
Yeah, but I'm talking since
Giving
then.
the
I'm
land.
talking since then, the last 4 years. And if you've noticed in the last 11 months in Israel, we've had number.
Bro, it's so awesome to have liberal Zionism as a wonderful subsect of American political discourse. Cause remember how I talked about how reactionary conservatives, straight up fascists in general, have basically co-opted adorned liberal aesthetics of social justice, like doing a bodies and spaces. Sweetie, you're actually coming after my Irish, my intergenerational trauma of being a white man growing up in America. When you say the cracker word, that's our word, you can't say that. It's on steroids when it comes to the Israeli Defense Brigade, when it comes to defending the apartheid. It's I don't know. I feel like it bricks people's minds. If you're a liberal, you have no conditioning outside of this. You get all of the talking points correct. You use the right words. Most liberals are going to look at that and go, okay, I think I agree. Maybe I am being anti-Semitic when I'm fucking talking about maybe you shouldn't kill Palestinian children. To be fair, she said she's doing bodies and spaces, but she also did say Palestine should have his own hyperloop. No, she's the smartest one of them all, 100%. Liberal Zionists oftentimes are much smarter than ultra Zionists. Ultra Zionists are so stupid and so goddamn arrogant that they think everyone is just as bloodthirsty monsters as they are. So they'll be like, oh, terror baby, what the are you saying? Hamas, UN is Hamas. And then that ends up causing people around you to go, what? Okay, I'm not on your team, whatever the fuck you're talking about. Liberal Zionists, on the other hand, unironically are the best at communicating and whitewashing the apartheid regime. But the dumb motherfuckers over at Israel don't even recognize that. So they keep getting in their own goddamn way. Liberal Zionism is so good at just talking about the Israeli state as a permanent victim and using terms like this is actually land back. Israel is a land back movement, and it's the indigenous population with a right to return. Co-opting the actual terminology from radical politics and describing it in morally permissible terms to a broader audience is so much more effective to a Western audience than whatever the psychos are trying to do on a regular basis. So they should just shut the fuck up and let her thrive here, because she's gonna end up doing a much better job than everybody else. At least with how people are, if you want people to be receptive to your narrative.
Of protests to be able to also further improve the situations. We are working towards that. I think it's one of the most important things is for us to not look at it as a non-binary thing. Progressives are so quick to look at sexuality and gender non-binary, but when it comes to these sort of complex issues, everything is black or white. It's peace or no peace. That's never going to happen.
Yeah. She kind of betrayed the progressive message there a little bit by being like, oh, you guys are so woke on non-binary. Yeah, but not when it comes to Israel. You don't see gray area. It's it's not, because it's not. There's no gray area in apartheid. It is black and white. The morality of Israel's maintenance of the apartheid regime is black and white. Solutions are complex, hard to implement, but the morality of the matter is not.
We need to come together and work on tangible things we can do to improve the situation. So you're right. I actually really agree with you, and I wish that you could hear my agreeance.
So all I was going to reply to was the Abraham Accords. The Palestinians were not even involved in that. So no, we don't accept the Abraham Accords because we weren't even confronted about it. That's what I think most people you ask on the Palestinian side would say. And this is a history that goes back a century of this. Palestinians being excluded. When the Nakba first started, 1 million Palestinians, nearly 1 million, 750 plus Palestinians were expelled from their homes. Some fled, others worse murdered, right? And then you have the 1947 partition plan, which is like, hey, we just got here, we're taking 55%, you guys are keeping 45. You're saying we've offered many resolutions. Who would do that? If somebody came to America right now and took our country and said, hey, you guys get 45%, nobody would accept that. So you got to also look at it from that perspective. So,
I have kids. When we were in Tel Aviv, and on October 7th, I was in Tel Aviv, and then we drove down to Jerusalem. We heard the alarm goes off. I'm like, do you hear that? Do you hear that? I'm like, and my son goes, yeah, what's that? I'm like, that's the alarm. I'm like, and then I'm like, my kids doesn't even know what is it. So, to the point, I'm happy my kid didn't know what is it, because I know what is it. I grew up into this conflict. In my house, we don't talk about that. We don't talk what's, like my son, we started to tell them about the story, about the war. There is terrorist, and then my son was like, Dad, in Hebrew, what's terrorist? My kids doesn't know anything about this because for me, they're not supposed to know about that. My question is, why the kids in Gaza are learning books of Hitler's? Books of Hitler. You see books of Hitler all over the schools, all over Shifa, all over the schools.
Oh my God, brother. Dude, come on. Come on, dude, come on. First of all, for a Palestinian child, learning to hate his oppressor, adorning the Star of David as it engages in unimaginable acts of cruelty and violence in its daily maintenance of an apartheid regime, there is no necessity to read Mein Kampf. That is a European invention. Okay? The Palestinian child learns to hate Israel, and maybe in some instances, Judaism, because what Judaism represents to the Palestinian child is Israeli violence. Okay? They don't need to read Mein Kampf to understand weird European, Eurocentric, anti-Semitic conspiracies. They learn to hate Israel, and maybe even in some instances, they learn to hate Jews in general. When their school gets blown up, not when what they are teaching at fucking school. And the reason why they think or associate in certain instances a hatred of Israel with a hatred of Jewish people in general is because there's a fucking Star of David slapped to the side of the flag on the plane. Okay? To them, they are victims of the Israeli apartheid. This is not dissimilar to the concept behind Republicans, another reactionary ideology, or the concept behind black children learning about how devastating white supremacy is at school because they're learning CRT. They're learning critical race theory. That's not how a black student or a black child in America learns about white supremacy and learns to hate it. They learn it at school when their teacher is racist to them. They learn it at school when the school resource officer treats them like a black adult. They learn it when they get involved in the school to prison pipeline at an early age. They learn it through lived experience. And in some instances, maybe they hate white people too as a consequence of that. But they don't hate white people, they hate white supremacy. Okay? Just like Palestinian children don't hate Jews. They hate the apartheid. So when you take the apartheid away from the equation, there's no more need for hate. When you take white supremacy out of the equation, there's no more need to hate. That's not how this shit works. On the other hand, however, for the daily maintenance of the apartheid to be morally permissible to the broad majority of the Israeli public, you have to constantly engage in an endless cycle of reinforcement, because if you don't consistently dehumanize the Palestinians, then some of the Israelis are going to go, what the fuck are we doing? These are human beings. How else could you justify the checkpoints in the West Bank? How else could you justify the apartheid state? How else could you justify consistent bombing? So it's pure projection when someone who is an ultra-Zionist who defends Israel tells you Palestinian children are learning about anti-Semitism by reading Mein Kampf. It's fucking bullshit. It's bullshit. And it's also projection. You, on the side of the oppressor, need a constant reinforcement of racial agitative propaganda in order to justify the hateful acts, the violent acts of maintaining an apartheid regime. Okay? Palestinian children don't need that. They don't. They learn it by being born inside of Gaza. They learn it by being born inside of West Bank. They learn it by being born under the oppressive thumb of the Israeli occupation. Also, yes, there's no proof that Mein Kampf is being in Gazan schools besides, Times of Israel article talking about annotated copy of Mein Kampf.
They're all over all those books.
That goes both ways.
Let me answer.
There is no even one program in any school in Israel that teach you to hate Arabs. Not even one book.
Dude, it's embedded. It's embedded in the culture, man. It's embedded in every facet of Israeli existence. Get the fuck out of here. What do you mean? Point to the one book. It's like Ben Shapiro being like, what do you mean systemic racism? It doesn't exist. Point me to the one racist law in American history. I hate racism. Point me to the one racist law.
Not even one story in school curriculum.
Very likely that was planted.
That's
very likely that was planted. But are you done?
Planted.
And what do you mean planted? Okay, let's say it's real. Let me put this another way. Let's say it's fucking real, dog. Okay? Let's say these motherfuckers are reading Mein Kampf all day. The fuck is it to you? Does that justify killing entire fucking bloodlines? Like, what are we talking about, dude? I don't even believe it. But even if it was real, that's not even a good justification for fucking executing children. The fuck do you mean? That's why it's like psychotic. How much horny ass zealots are regularly talking about, I've seen this too. That's why it's psychotic when the horny ass zealots were talking about Rafat and his entire family being executed by the Israeli occupying force in a targeted strike, mind you, okay? And everyone was like looking through his tweets. This is a guy who's being lasered all day, every day. All of his death follows him everywhere. And he made a joke about a unverified and now actually, but not only was it unsubstantiated, but actually dismissed story. So he deserves to have his family wiped out alongside himself? What are we doing? Is that a standard you want to have? No, you only can fucking maintain that standard. Like Barry Weiss can only say that because she knows nobody's going to drone strike her bitch ass for fucking speaking out of turn. That's the point. Like that's not going to ever happen. And she knows that. So she can just be comfortable and be like, oh yeah, look at this tweet from Rafat. He deserved to get fucking shredded. Israeli school books legitimize Israeli military action and even massacre, according to Pellet El-Hanan's research. Israeli school books often describe Palestinians as a primitive and dangerous problem. In this video, Israeli professor Nurit Pellet El-Hanan talks about her research on the issue. One book calls all Arabs Jew haters. In another book, Israel described as a lamb and Arab countries as wolves. A few years ago, Israel banned high schools from teaching a novel about a love story between a Palestinian man and an Israeli woman. Why? Because the book supposedly threatens Jewish identity. Bro, it's all right-wing shit. If you want to conceptualize, what Israel is doing, just think about it from the framework that you're comfortable with. It's just super fucking far-right reactionary nonsense. It's that simple. It's the exact same shit we see here in America on a daily fucking basis. Okay? It's just like these guys are the biggest American hogs. Okay? They behave in the exact same way. It's not related, but have you seen World War II from the front lines? No, but I'm so fucking stoked to watch it. It's on Netflix, right? God, I love World War II documentaries. But, like, not too much. You know what I mean? I don't want to get too patriotic. So I got to, like, go and watch, I don't know, some shit about how awful America is. It's so good, though. It's just, like, there is something. I get it. Like, I spiritually understand why Americans are constantly searching for the just war. You know what I mean? Because it feels good. It feels good to overcome pure evil, you know? You think about it and you're like, man, those fucking Nazis, dude. They were just literally these are pure evil. Okay? Red flag? No, man. It's just like, it's just good. It hits. It hits so good. It hits so fucking good because these guys were so dog shit. Just so bad. And it's like, it's good to see like a triumph over like actually some fucking bad guys. You know what I mean? It's just that like everything that has happened since has been America dishing out awful, unimaginable cruelty nonstop for endless ideological warfare and just like claiming that all of their enemies are the bad guys like the Nazis were. Let's not forget the U.S. was reluctant to join the war and primarily did so because they were afraid of losing their hegemony in Pacific. Okay, put some respect on our boy, okay? Come on. There was definitely some, you know, Stalin adjacent people in the American leadership that certainly saw World War II as you know, a big problem. As the Germans is a big problem, certainly the Japanese too. There were others too. Maybe they were also not too great with their, you know, with the treatment of the Japanese. I'm talking about FDR, guys. I'm talking about FDR. There was plenty of Hitler adjacent folks, and then there were some that were decent. You know, some that were fucking thinking like we should figure out a way to get ourselves involved, maybe. The result is that many Jewish Israelis support violence and discrimination against Palestinians. In addition, public schools in Israel legally required to teach students about the importance of military service. Israeli law also prohibits schools from hosting talks about organizations that criticize the military. Israeli teachers who have criticized the military have lost their jobs. Here are two examples. One from 972 Mag and one from Haaretz. On 11th grade, non-Orthodox Jewish students in Israel attend a week-long paramilitary camp known as Gadna. They're dressed in military uniform, receive weapons training, and practice shooting. Some Israeli summer camps also train young children for military service. For example, one summer camp offers children as young as 3 years military-like drills and military history education. In another summer camp, Israeli children aged 10 and above undergo firearms training at a site similar to Gaza. And they also use military aircraft simulations. There are even Israeli summer camps within military bases. Children assist soldiers with their chores and are taught by the commanders about battle history. As a result, most Jewish Israeli children see military service as an important rite of passage into adulthood and full citizenship. Even before they're born, Israeli children are treated as future soldiers. For example, here's an advertisement for the maternity ward of one of the country's top hospitals. It contains an image of a soldier-like fetus. Bro, that's literally an American meme. Bro, they took the meme. You know how we joke about like, of course you can't have an abortion. Like today's abortion could have been tomorrow's like military veteran in a coffin or American soldier in a coffin. They took that and made it real. They were like, no, this is actually fucking sick. Oh my God. What the fuck? Dude, these is crazy. Crazy. Oh my God. Ay, ay, ay. It's just so abnormal. Finally, the fact that Israeli youths will serve in the military in the future can save them from punishment now if they harm Palestinians. Let's look at two examples which I've written about here. In 2017, 2 Israeli settler youths admitted to throwing stones at Palestinian cars, but the court didn't convict them because of their wish to enlist and serve in a combat unit. The court added a conviction might obstruct their recruitment to a combat unit. Following year, a 17-year-old Israeli settler admitted to throwing stones at a Palestinian. This is a really good thread.
Come on, by soldiers like me at 20 years old,
Also,
soldiers planted those things.
Mr. Mishkila, can I answer your question with another question?
It's
If you have
Oh, he doesn't believe that they were planted. He's like, no, dude. The annotated copy of Mein Kampf is real. Bro, if you believe that, talk about the Al-Qaeda manual too. Yeah, no. Dude, everything that the Israeli president puts forward is just straight up is the most comical fake news.
have more to say, go ahead.
No, it's because every time we will say something, it's been planted. You guys are lying. Listen, I was a soldier, 20 years old. You know, when you go into Gaza, by the way, when you're 20, until you get into the house, you want to kill yourself. You don't want to be there. You don't want to beat her.
Shouldn't be
As a
forced.
soldier, you don't want to beat her. So there is no soldiers who planting books to take a photo.
It's not the
put it on
soldier, it's
social
the
media.
leadership.
Also, by Human Watch organization, there was an investigation that in Israeli schools inside of Israel, not all of them, but some of them, that they were taught to hate Palestinians.
Oh no,
That's
this is
Human
completely
Rights
different.
Watch.
Bro, you know how many
I'm
videos I've
saying
seen of
Human
Israeli-
Rights Watch
hate it.
on their website, that was an
Wow,
investigation.
I'm
that
dying
was
to
done.
see it.
But I would like to go back.
People go, UNRWA is fucking teaching Palestinian children to hate Jews and shit. And it's like, dog, they don't need the schooling, okay? They don't need the fucking school. Dude, they see the Star of David slapped to a fucking tank, and they're gonna be like, oh, that's my association with oppression. You know what I mean? The fuck are we doing here? Stop the oppression. That's it. It's so dumb. It's so funny that you have to make it seem like I always feel like I've taken crazy pills when I talk about this shit, because it's like I don't understand how most people don't understand this. They don't see this. Okay? The Star of David in the West Bank has a very different connotation. Okay? When they mark your house with a Star of David in the West Bank, when you're a Palestinian, that means they're going to come fucking throw shit. They're going to try to forcibly evict you. Okay? They're going to come and bulldoze your shit. That's what that means. For a Palestinian, it's very different. It's basically a mark of death. Okay? It's so weird that we just act like that's not a real situation. When the roles shift from Jewish people being historically oppressed to Israelis being the historic oppressor, you can't still use the historically oppressed arguments to justify your current and ongoing oppression. It doesn't work that way. Especially when it becomes more damaging when there is still ongoing oppression against Jewish people. Some of which accelerates when the Israeli state, as the oppressor, says they're doing it at the behest of Judaism and Jewish people all around the world.
Back to the prompt, if that's okay with everybody. The reason why I don't want your kids or our kids to inherit this conflict is because, number one, maybe not for you guys, but for us as Palestinians, we already risk sitting on this panel not being able to ever go back and visit our family in Palestine ever again. I do have family in the West Bank. I don't know if I said that earlier. My father's Palestinian, and my grandmother and great-grandmother are actually Jewish from Germany. I wanted to make sure everyone knew that. I've been on Canary Mission since 2014 because I'm an activist. However, being on this panel, or even what's been happening the past month and a half or 2 months, whatever we're at, God help us all, I risk of not being ever go back and visit any of my family in West Bank again, even though I'm not saying kill this person, kill that.
Like, she's been on Canary Mission, as in like Canary Mission has doxed her since 2014, chat. She's saying she comes from a Jewish background, and the crime of like being a part of a Palestinian family, and the crime of fucking defending Gaza and having family members in the West Bank is reason alone for the Canary Mission to dox her since 2014. She's not saying she worked for the Canary Mission. What are you, fucking nuts? She has a literal Palestinian flag necklace and a keffiyeh on.
You get what I'm saying? Just by saying free Palestine, they can stop me at the Tel Aviv airport and say, that's it, you can't come in because you have a keffiyeh and you're Palestinian and you said this on social media. And if I have kids one day, maybe my kids, because I spoke up for humanity, okay? And again, this is what this is on whatever side you're talking about. Maybe my kids won't be able to go back because they're like, well, her mom is Rima, she can't go back. You know what I'm saying? This shit needs to end. I am tired. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of getting angry. I'm sure you're tired, you're tired. I'm fed up with it. You know, when people say, oh, Palestine never existed, Palestinians don't exist. To take away our right to exist is a problem for me. And that is and I tell people that when they come on my TikTok live, I stop them right away. For you to say that Palestinians don't exist, you are part of the problem right there. We do exist. My father does exist. Our voices matter. Our land matters. We have been there. It's
like I'm reading the Canary Mission bio, and it literally says Jalal is the co-founder of Layali & Co., a company that supported the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. Like, that's one of her crimes. And then it follows up by saying, the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund is a nonprofit organization reportedly set up to provide urgent humanitarian care for Gaza's children. It has been financially linked with the Holy Land Foundation for Relief and Development, which was shut down by the U.S. government for funneling donations to a terrorist organization. They're saying the PCRF is a terrorist organization. Someone should inform Israel that they're allowing a terrorist organization to do humanitarian aid. That's really fucked up, man.
It's got to stop for everybody.
I actually tweeted, Israel doesn't exist, Palestine doesn't exist. I can't think of two worse conversation starters. Because I just think it's a ridiculous place to start. And in 1985, the Arab League recognized Palestine, and I think that we should as well. And so for me—
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, and so for me, I think that we have to start from humanization. Like Jonah was saying earlier, we can't dehumanize each other, otherwise we have just no chance.
Exactly. Absolutely.
No chance.
Totally. I think in my surroundings, they accept the existence, obviously, of Palestine, and they accept exactly what you just say right now. They do. Okay. They do. And actually, maybe 99% of the people I know, right?
Same.
The question is, what's the majority of your surrounding saying about Jewish? Because all we see right now, all we feel, by the way, we feel what you feel.
Bro, listen, we accept the Palestinians existing with the boundaries and confines that we've set up for them. Sure, they may be extremely limited. Sure, they may be literally genocidal, but like, we accept it while we're also continuously doing genocide to your friends and family members. So how do you feel about that genocide? You better not fucking say. Better not say that genocide is not allowed and kind of fucked up, because then I'm going to immediately conflate that to hatred of Jewish people for no fucking particular reason. You cannot criticize Israel on its own as an oppressive entity, as a country.
By the way, and I'm not going to take it away from you, right? Whatever you feel right now, I swear I want to hug you. I'm not going to take it away from you. But what we feel is that
I'm a Jewish American and I work in a Jewish business. Let me tell you right now, they do not accept Palestine as real, and it's scary. Yeah, I mean, I was being charitable by saying, no, they accept Palestine as a state that, you know, as long as it's like the Israeli as long as it's within the confines of like the Israeli occupation. That was me being charitable. I know a lot of people that do not.
Palestinian wants to make sure that Jewish people has no right to live in Israel, and they need to die.
We can't speak for everyone, just like you can't speak for all of your people. I'm telling you, as a Palestinian, not because my grandmother's Jewish, we are not against Jews. We don't want to get rid of the Jewish people.
And I love to hear that. And I swear to God, I think
I agree 100% with you.
What about
if I will hear, Tomer, we don't want Jewish to get killed because they're Jewish people, I swear it's open everything to a conversation, because all I want is just to make sure that if you guys sit in front of me, you don't want to kill me. Yeah. Oh, I'm down for everything, bro. I'm down for everything.
Not at all.
We do not want Jewish people to die.
Absolutely
not.
I don't think there's a single Muslim that believes in Islam truly that can, in his right mind, justify in any way, theologically, rationally, logically, that a Jewish person doesn't have the right to live. Zero.
Yeah,
there's a difference between being opposed to the Zionist regime and the Zionist governmental political policies and being opposed to an individual who subscribes, who has nothing to do with that part of the world, who has a religion of Judaism. We're brothers, we're cousins. Abraham had two.
He's pointing to the Los Angelino, but brother, he's already made his bed, it seems. You know what I mean? He's like
sons, Ismail and Ishaq, right? And we descend from them. So we're not only cousins, we're half brothers. We have a problem with the ideology whose entire basis is establishing a state strictly for Jewish people, which makes it by definition an apartheid state, on the land of another people
So you don't
Our
you
people.
don't acknowledge Israel as a country. This is my question.
Wait, I actually.
The way it's currently defined, absolutely
So
not.
that
Do
wasn't
I
my
acknowledge you
question.
as a human being? Absolutely. Do I acknowledge?
So they should all just.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Oh my God, dude, you are making that. Brother, you're making that jump. You know what the funniest part about this conversation is? He said the exact opposite, but the dude, the Los Angeles guy, didn't even hear him, and he went, "Oh, so you want all Jews to perish? You don't want them to exist in Israel?" And it's like, first of all, you said that. Nobody else said that. Actually, he said the exact opposite. But what's ironic is if he were to say, "It seems to me like Israel's actions are to openly wipe out all Palestinians living on occupied territories," he go, whoa, that's anti-Semitic. Why? How could you ever say that? It's like, motherfucker, he's not even saying that. He's literally pointing to the fucking objective reality of what Israel is doing in Gaza right now, and maybe even repeating what your defense minister said. You know, what many members of the Knesset have said and continue to say. That's the major difference here.
I said the
didn't
way
say
that
that
the
at all.
state is currently formed, the ideologies that led to its forming,
not.
the land without a people for a people without a land, the entire pretext to the formation of the state, we disagree with. But can we
I
find a
think the
different way to
ideology- I have
exist?
to answer
Can we
Zion.
find a different way to
I
exist?
have to answer Zion.
Can we find
He didn't explicitly say homie was making a logical leap that I'm guessing he's about to explain. No, that wasn't a logical leap. That's an illogical leap caused by a irrational fear. Okay? It's ridiculous. Being anti-Zionist doesn't mean Jews need to be expelled from the fucking region. Okay? That's not what that is at all. It's not. It's not ever going to happen. One, it's not like it's impossible for it to happen. And two, that would be an actual cruelty. Okay, sure. 30% of Israelis have dual citizenship. Okay, who gives a fuck? There's still 70% who don't. Okay, where are they going to go? They're not going to go anywhere. You have to solve this problem from a realistic perspective. And the realistic perspective comes from a Truth and Reconciliation Committee addressing war criminals or war crimes on both sides, certainly. Okay, obviously the scales would be tilted in one direction more than the other. One side does have a lot more fucking war crimes under international humanitarian law than the other side. But it comes from dealing with that. It comes from reparations being afforded to the Palestinians, which is, again, a matter of international human rights law. This is something that Israel also recognizes, mind you, that reparations must be given to all Palestinians who were cast away from their homes 75 years ago. That's literally a matter of international law that Israel even recognizes. The only point of contention there is whether or not the Arab nations in the surrounding regions also should pay for it. Remember, Israel acknowledges that they have to give reparations to the Palestinians that they fucking forced away from their homes. Israel personally recognizes that. But they hold that conversation up by claiming maybe it's the Arab nation's fault as well. Maybe it's the Arabs that told the Palestinians, like, oh yeah, if you run away from your home now, once the war is over, you can come back. We're the ones who won't let you come back. We're the ones who won't give you the reparations. But maybe, you know, if the regional Arab leaders also admit fault and during the Nakba, then you know, maybe we'll do some reparations. Now, obviously, that's a method to just like take a position that is somewhat in the middle there, while simultaneously, you know, passing the buck down and never really coming to a solid conclusion. Because a solid conclusion will require Israelis to recognize, the Israeli government especially, to recognize with the historic wrong, the Nakba. But regardless, this idea that like Zionism, or not Zionism, rather, that there's no solution to this conflict is silly. Okay?
find a different? Yes,
Please,
yes, we
please.
can.
This is very
we can
important.
find a different way
This is
to
really
exist.
important.
But
You're doing the same leaps as the LA guy. I'm doing the same leaps as the LA guy. I'm gonna keep it $150 with you, and I will stand on this. I am infinitely more well-read. Oh, you're talking to this dude. I'd rather have World War III than listen to these petty grievances. The UK closed its banks so long. Okay, he wasn't replying to me. He was replying to another chatter. Sorry. I was going to say I'm going to stand on this business. I am significantly more well-read, more well-read on this matter than every single person here, including those who have like literal personal involvement in the affairs.
But not with the idea that it's a majority Jewish state.
It wasn't.
Palestine, I'm sorry.
It was never meant to be a majority Jewish state.
No,
the
it
intention
wasn't.
of,
It was
hold on, no, listen,
always
listen.
supposed to be.
45%.
Wants a majority Jewish state in our land.
45% of the original proposed Zionist state by Herzl was 45% was meant to be Muslim Arab, okay? And there was going to be a fractional percent, 1% Jewish in the Palestinian state, okay? So we were willing to accept up to 45% of our country being Arab,
Herzl,
right?
Our country? You had no country. What do you mean? That's not a country. Hello? Also, wait, what? Dude, 1947 UN partition is dog water. Okay? That's insane. Can you imagine, like, oh God. Can you imagine a fucking the League of Nations, which didn't really exist at the time, but like an international consortium coming together and being like, hey, Native Americans, the settler freaks that we fucking sent into your country, directed by the British Empire, now have more than half the fucking land on this territory that they've invaded. Okay, it's theirs now. Sorry, shut the fuck up. You'd be like, no, hello? No, that's a fucking weird ass thing to say. Now, of course, Americans did way worse, right? They completed the genocide. That's the difference. For them, though, they did it way before, at a time when it was like still unimaginably cruel and fucked up. They did it at a time when everyone was, and this is not to say it's like morally righteous or anything, but they did it at a time when like conflicts such as this one and ethnic cleansing like this was not as immediately understood. Okay? There's no internet. You know, at a time before we have like electricity, internet, shit like that. It's a little bit different when you're doing 16th, 14th century style ethnic cleansing campaigns in 2023, you know? Yes, you are correct. The first bum to die. It was the might makes right period. There was no international criminal courts and standards set for what level of violence is like appropriate towards whom.
With what's happening right now.
But hold on a second. So
Herzl
the original premise of Zionism is not to be something to eradicate. If anything, it says that we want to come in there with to be able to get the state diplomatically, to be able to not do it through colonizers. That's literally what his letter states. And I think it's really important to understand that for us, Zionism is not some evil thing. And people have co-opted our term and used it as a slur against us.
Okay, you are literally, what? Co-opted our term and use it as a slur against us? I'm losing it. Oh my God, liberal Zionism is so awesome. Herzl literally used the C word, colonial. Yeah. We were going to let Arabs live with us falls apart as soon as you investigate how Palestinians are treated today inside Israel. Yeah. We were going to do that, but they just wouldn't let us do it. Liberal Zionism is awesome because it's basically advocating that like the word Karen is the worst slur you could say, or the word cracker is the worst slur you can say, like much worse than the N word with a hard R. You know what I mean? It basically is that. It's like, do not investigate the etymology of the word cracker, where it comes from. It's actually so much worse. That's you're not allowed to say it. But at the same time, America still celebrates Thanksgiving every year and hasn't even begun to come to terms with this genocide culturally. This is unrelated to the Israel discussion. Not trying to sound like Israel's doing a genocide. No, actually, it's very related to the Israeli discussion. Yes, America did a genocide on the indigenous population and then denied it, whitewashed it, and to this day still refuses to acknowledge it.
When to us it's something sacred, it means our right to self-determination back in the land of Israel. Just as you want the right to self-determination for Palestinians back in Palestine, we also feel that same way about Israel.
We and most of other people think that Zionism is one way, you think it's that way, right? But what I want to clarify, okay? So this is where I'm going to meet you halfway. When you said, so you want all Jews to F off, or whatever you said.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, no, it's okay. Zionism to us and the other people, the way that we know it as it is, whatever you think is what, okay, we're meeting halfway.
The real way it's manifested.
Yes, I want you, I know, but this is where we're gonna meet halfway. I want you to know that at no point does any person that's speaking up for Palestine or is Palestinian or whatever the case may be, We've never. Are there radical people on each side? Yes, there are. But we want to live in peace. We want to live as neighbors. We want to love each other. It does not mean to unalive Jews. It does not mean to eradicate all the Jewish people. That's not what anybody who is.
I'm so mad. Just say the question. The conversation needs to have boundaries. The number one boundary is just fucking ask them, do you think Israel's an apartheid state? And then just work from that boundary. Like, just establish it.
Speaking in a good aspect for our movement.
You need boundaries. Like the top of the hour ad break is a boundary for everyone to recognize that the top of the hour has come. And if you no longer want to see those ads at the top of the hour, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with the Twitch Prime. If you were there, the IDF would fight you. What do you mean? Here's a 3-minute ad break now. Not the worst boundary. It's a acceptable one.
Movement. That is not what we mean. And again, are there some radical people on both sides? I'm sure there are. We can't control everybody. But for the most part and for the majority, no, we don't want to get rid of Jewish people. No human being who has a heart should want to get rid of any person.
Both sides have lost the war.
Hello again.
Hello. You want to
go? Well, I don't know exactly about both sides, but I can tell you about my side. I feel that we lost the war. The day the Hamas came to our people and they slaughtered 1,400 of our people, and they raped our women, and they beheaded our babies, and all of that. And I was there that day. I was on the beach, and we had a party, friends of mine from college, and we partied the whole night until 6 a.m. And at 6:30, the rocket started, followed by boats coming from the sea. And they mounted the shore and they killed, in front of me, in front of my friends, they killed 40 people, including couples, 17-year-old kids. They killed fishermen, fathers and sons. They come to the sea every day for the past 40 years. And they slaughtered them all. And they slaughtered my friend, my dear friend Mo. And I don't know how many of you seeing, like we talked about the media, the news, and all of that. So when it all happened on October 7th, the Hamas really posted everything on Telegram. And I saw all the horrors. I can talk to you about every single video of it, and how they beheaded people, and how they raped our women, and burned babies in the ovens. For me, no matter what happens next, we lost this war. We lost our brothers. We lost our friends. No military act or nothing can bring them back. Actually, the main reason why I think we lost.
I know. I don't want to fucking hear him go through it again. I heard it.
Is our hostages. 241 people was.
Yes, he said he saw women getting raped and babies being beheaded and thrown into ovens. He's just mixing and matching all the stuff, okay? I'm going to go ahead and assume that he's saying all this because he's either misguided because he's seen videos of, like, these atrocities, I'm sure, that were being presented as though it was, like, being done to Israelis, okay? I'm in that Telegram. I didn't see that. No, he's Mossad. Yeah, dude, Mossad is a fucking a broccoli zoomer cut guy. No, he's not. The best propagandists in this situation, if you're thinking about like Hasbara, the best propagandist in the situation is literally the liberal Zionist, okay? Not him. He is like the absolute worst at that table. He's going crazy with it. He's going nutty mo with it. You have to remember, like, this is for a Western audience. He's popping off for a Western audience in a way that, like, in a way that is not going to be, is not going to come across as, like, good, okay?
Hostages. Some of them were released right now, women and children.
I know the IDF made a film of that day and screened it. None of the things that he mentioned were in that movie, okay? There was no sexual assault in that movie. Famously, journalists that did actually watch it mentioned it. that there was not. And also, there was no babies being thrown in ovens on that day. But it doesn't matter. He's like, there's a lot of real shit that he probably saw, as did I, from October 7, that broke his brain. And then beyond that, he's like parsing through all the information that he probably saw of like, because I remember there being videos going around of like, I think it was like a Kurdish woman who was being either, it wasn't, I don't know if she was being raped or it was something. There were videos being circulated and they were being presented as like, as though they were, happening on October 7th. There's a lot of photos that were being circulated as though they were happening on October 7th. Like all that stuff was presented at the time as though it was like being done by Hamas against Israelis. All trying to make up a lie on the spot is hard improv. You can do it, Hasan. Wait, what? What make up a lie? No, I'm trying to contextualize the things that he's saying. Part of it is true, part of it is not. The untrue part, he might be misguided on.
170 people still in Gaza being held captives. No one speaks about it. People ripping out those posters every day. So when we see the world and we know that no one cares for them, for me, we lost.
Yeah. I think when the question came to me, I was thinking of a win-lose because it's never going to be a win, right? So even if we find the peace we all want and the freedom, I have a hard time calling it a win that we've...
Why misguided is a result of misinformation and mass brainwashing. Yo, hide the USA is culprit. I hide that the USA is culprit in this. Who's fucking chat do you think you're in, bro? What the fuck? This is the America Deserve 9/11 Power Hour. What the fuck are you talking about? Have you just joined for the first time in your life? Like, it's like, hey guys, hold up. Nobody tell me anything about Hasan. I just ventured into this fucking broadcast. Seems like this guy Hasan is whitewashing U.S.'s involvement in the ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza.
As you mentioned, so many innocent people have died, children, women, etc. So that's the main reason I came up here. You can't classify anything else but a loss, even if outcomes are better and things get better. We've all lost. It's a tragedy, and so many innocent people died in the last 6 to 8 weeks. 2 million in Gaza have been displaced from their homes. 18,000 have died. 8,000 of them have been children. About 4,000 women. This is from the Euromed Health Monitor. And generally, these numbers that come from Gaza end up being verified by the UN. So it's sad. And also, as you mentioned, the innocent civilians and children who are taken hostage on October 7th, and none of that is okay. So yeah, it's a loss.
Do you think it's appropriate to be partying till 6 in the morning a few miles away from an open-air prison where people don't have water except for clean water is not available to 95% of the inhabitants? Electricity is only available 11 hours of the day. Bombardments.
The counter to that is, do you think it's appropriate to kill those people?
Have been ensuing every 3 to 5 years nonstop. Do you think it's appropriate for you to be partying a couple miles away from such a situation?
Yes,
because do you think it's fair?
Yeah, of course it is, because it's not our fault.
It's not your fault.
You know how much
Who controls
money
the water supply to Gaza?
No.
Israel controls the water supply to Gaza.
Did they not shut
off the water and the electricity
10%.
and the fuel?
10%
So then who controls it? If they shut it off, who controls it?
I've done research
on
the water situation.
From Gaza, they control.
I've done.
No.
I've done.
Okay. Good take. He hit it with the. He hit him with a good take. She said, "I got research. Let's hear it."
Just research on the water situation.
I'm gonna let you talk.
Let her cook. I want to hear what kind of research.
Israel shut off the water, the fuel, and the electricity to Gaza. Who controls the water, electricity, and fuel?
You took all the money and
who controls them, bro? Answer my question.
I would like to answer.
Okay.
Hamas
Can I answer the question?
So then how did Israel cut it off?
Actually,
Israel is not even stepping
PA,
into Gaza.
Who cut
Yeah, water famously exists organically within Gaza, and never requires desalination, never requires like a a pipeline or something to fucking clean it. Oh wait, there are desalination plants in Gaza, right? Fuck. Wait, they got blown up? You tell me? How did that? Hold on. How did that happen? Was it Hamas?
The water.
The PAW controls
You answer my
Gaza.
question.
The
I think you're
PAW
reasonable.
controls Gaza's water situation.
Who's
Okay.
the PAW for
They're
people?
the Palestinian Water Authority. Okay. They control the water.
Oh, wait. The Palestinian Water Authority? That's crazy. So where are they getting the water from? Please. It was a rocket misfire. Man, shut the fuck up. No. Suck my dick. I can't tell if you're joking or not. You're insane. Like, this is so incredibly well established, brother. You are beyond the pale, straight up ethnic cleansing denial territory, okay? The moment that you fucking say something as untrue as like Palestinians actually literally have control over their own water in Gaza or in the West Bank, it's like, nope, you're done. You're wrong. Why are you guys fighting? Stop fighting amongst each other in the chat. According to Google for the water resources of Palestine are de facto fully controlled by Israel, and the division of groundwater is subject to provisions in the Oslo II Accord. The idea, stop fighting in the chat. The idea that like Palestinians have any control over their own water is so ridiculous because as the dude right there immediately said, if Palestinians have any control over their own water, how did Israel stop it? Israel shut it off, okay? How'd they do that?
Situation in Gaza.
So how did
Gaza's
Israel shut
water,
it off?
Hold on.
How did Israel shut it off?
Israel has a pipeline that goes into Gaza. It's a very small pipeline. It gives about 10% of Gaza's water. Gaza's water's problem actually started long before even 2005. They have a number of aquifers on their shores. One of their main aquifers, which is not enough to sustain the population growth which has come to be. They also have a lot of other problems with contamination. Why? Because their contamination
Israel
plants
controls the water sources.
No, we left them a perfectly good sewer grid in 2005.
That's not true.
Great sewer grid, but it was for the population size that was there. Right now, the population has grown significantly where those contamination plants, the wastewater treatment plants, can't process the amount of water that's coming in. So
The real reason why the wastewater treatment plant and the contamination plants can't sustain the population is because you blew it up. And now all the Palestinians have remaining for clean water is desalination plants that exist around the Gaza Strip that require fuel, which Israel controls. The one pipe that she's talking about, the one pipeline that she's talking about that directly pumps water into Israel, which still requires fuel, by the way, or requires electricity, by the way. So everything that she's brought up is just wrong.
So what happens? The overflow goes into the ocean, which further degrades the water that's coming in from the aquifer. It's actually a really shitty situation.
Hold on.
There's a number of organizations.
Done to rectify
There's a number of organizations in Israel that are actually working on this problem right now. However, long-term solutions for water has to come from diplomatic means because we need to be able to get this.
She took the long way home to be like, yeah, Israel controls the water supply of the Gaza Strip. All she basically said, the summary is, Israel controls the water supply of the Gaza Strip, but the Palestinians won't deal with them.
The supplies in, and those supplies that are large enough to be able to sustain Gaza's water, to be able to build and scale to what it actually needs right now, violate the dual use policy of things that come in because they are used for rockets. Another huge
water is being used for rockets.
No, the pipes are used for.
That's bullshit too. Those are pipes that were going into the Israeli settlements inside of Gaza that were destroyed, some by the settlers, for the record, and were rendered useless. Those pipes were used symbolically by Hamas to make its PVC. You can make some very limited missiles with that, okay, very limited rockets with that. Some of them were used for that purpose, but those pipes weren't like active pipes with water flowing through them. It is a very racist and classic, like, they're barbarians. Look, they don't even know what to use with technology. They take everything and turn it into fucking weapons. Some of these people are obs. No, they took the pipes, the PVC pipes, going into Israeli settlements inside of Gaza, that were rendered useless by the Israeli government and turned them into rockets. They're not very effective because they're PVC, but that's it.
Rockets, which is a really, really big issue because it means that it violates the dual use policy, which means that you can't bring things in that are large enough to be able to create those terror items.
The idea that they like destroyed working water supplies in order to make a couple fucking rockets that are really scary against Israel is stupid.
Very situation, and I think that Gazans deserve clean drinking water, and it's a
Why
very
don't they
big.
have it?
It's a very big problem because the internal structure of the water is not run by Israel. We have a very minor pipeline.
Yeah, it's fucking bullshit. There's nothing that she's bringing up is correct. Here, I've literally read this article. I think I've read this on stream. Gaza's remaining entry point of Rafah crossing. How Gaza gets its water, fuel and electricity shortages. They have 3 seawater desalination plants that produce drinking water but require electricity or fuel to operate. They have a wastewater treatment plant that keeps polluted water from seeping into the ground. They have the Palestinian Water Authority, which buys drinking water from the Israeli state-owned water company Mekorot, which is carried through 3 pipelines into Gaza via 3 connection points. In 2021, about 6% of Gaza came from Mekorot. The average daily water consumption in Rafah in 2021 was 72.6 liters per person, the lowest in all of the Gaza Strip. The coastal aquifer stretching from northern Egypt through Gaza into Israel is Gaza's main source of water, but only 4% of water extracted is safe to drink. Fuel shortages and airstrikes have absolutely eviscerated Gaza's water supply. The idea that any of this is Hamas is bullshit. Look up Military Order 158, Order number 158, Order amending the Water Supervision Law ordained that all well springs and water projects are under the command of the Israeli military commander. Every installation or resource built without a permit will be confiscated. Wait, you're talking about, okay, you're mistaking Gaza for West Bank. We're not talking about the West Bank. There's a thread by an academic on Gaza water. I won't comment on the last bit, just on the point about water. First, Israel hardly supplies any water into Gaza, even in normal times. The big issue as far as water supplies are connected in the moment or not. These supplies from Israel, only 10 MCM annually, but no power supplies. The wider destruction of water and wastewater infrastructure. No power is crucial. No power for water delivery or wastewater treatment. No power is much more important than no water. With electricity fuel, Gaza can desalinate and get water from the wells. Without it, not. The question of why Gaza gets so little water from Israel is also worth commenting on, as it perfectly illustrates much about the Israel-Gaza-West Bank dynamics. It's not because it doesn't need it. It obviously does. It doesn't rain that much in Gaza. And there's no way it should be self-sufficient in water. The reason it doesn't receive much water from Israel is that Israel's water networks bypass it, going around it to supply Israeli communities to the east and south. Just as in relation to security, so also water. Long-standing Israeli policy has been to cut Gaza off and hope that it sinks into the sea.
And that goes into Israel, and that's the water that is controlled.
Why are we seized?
That is the water.
Hamas took all the money.
Because of all of the terror that has come out of Gaza has created these blockades over the years.
Yes, as is the case always, every single argument can be completely reduced to Israel's national security concerns as a Jewish supremacist ethno-state trump the human rights and recognition of Palestinians as human beings. That's it. Our national security concerns trump you being considered a human being. That's what she's doing here. She's saying Hamas is the reason. Joe Biden has lost his mind. Oh, yeah, I saw this. That U.S. President Biden stated tonight at the White House Hanukkah party, were there no Israel, there wouldn't be a Jew in the world that is safe, and that he is a Zionist. Yeah, I mean, he's betrayed the woke Pope. That's what's really fucked up about it. As a Catholic, he has officially betrayed the woke Pope. The woke Pope is like, IDF are terrorists. IDF need to stop. Biden, on the other hand, as a Catholic, has brought great shame upon the entire Catholic religion by completely sidestepping the woke Pope. He is no longer Irish. He's brought great shame upon Ireland. He's also brought great shame upon Catholicism. That sounds like a threat? What do you mean? Families of the American Israeli hostages held captive in Gaza asked the White House for an invitation to the Hanukkah celebration. Joe Biden's White House did not respond to the request. Bro, he's literally doing... Oh my God, he's doing the Netanyahu play. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's literally That's straight up some Netanyahu shit, dog. That's a straight up Netanyahu strat. Avoiding the hostage families because they are politically not making you look good. I misspelled Netanyahu. That is anti-Semitic of me. You're right. Hasan already done the fucking Palestine Jubilee video. Brother, let me tell you. We watched so much of it, and yet it feels like there's still so much more.
The blockades have gotten stronger and stronger because of the terror that has come out.
But that
What do
is
you
collective
expect? The parting-
punishment.
You're saying the parting, listen, the party, I think it's collective punishment by Hamas. The parting that's happening at 6 a.m. on the beach right next
She looked at, she's like, come on, dude. Hamas is doing it.
right? That's also happening
else?
next door to a place
wow.
that's sending thousands of rockets into Israel every single day.
That's
so
delusional.
is it right to be able to send thousands of
course
rockets
not.
into Israel every
No,
single
no,
day?
no.
No.
No,
We pulled out of Gaza. The water system
None of it
in
going
Gaza was set up for the current population. Very big issues with that, okay, regardless. But I think that more people need to do actual research on the water situation before speaking about Israel shutting on or off. We shut off 10% of the water. There was already a water crisis in
What about
Gaza.
the fuel and the
now
electricity?
the war has completely exacerbated
One must ask the question, why was there already a water crisis in Gaza?
that crisis.
What
which
about
is
the fuel
super
and the
sad.
electricity?
And also not just that, but the water in Gaza is very heavily privatized. So people with money get access to water there. It's so f***ing sad. So the poor people are actually even worse out of luck, and they get charged more.
Oh my God, I can't do this. It's literally just, so bad. Look at what Shani reposts. Instagram is insane. She's a literal Hosber owlet. Oh my gosh, she did a collaborative post.
Actually lives on stolen
Wait, that's her?
land. You do. Guess who actually lives on stolen land? You do. You do. You do. Me, Jew, you do. Me, Jew, you do. You live on stolen land.
He's so gross. It's awesome. He's so fucking disgusting. It's so cool. Dude, I think it's awesome. Let your freak flag fly, Brett Gelman. Let it fucking fly, dude. Cause like the more you hit these fucking lines, the more people are like, oh, that's gross. Am I like them in Stranger Things? I've never watched
For
it.
their water. It's a huge problem. And it's something that there are a ton of orgs that are actually working to try and fix that. But again, we need diplomatic solutions to this. And that means we need a government that we can have diplomatic relations with, which is not Hamas.
The goal of Israel in this war is to make sure that the Jewish state will stay alive. For me, as long as the Jewish state stay alive, Israel is always winning, because the other side want to eliminate the Jewish state. That's their goal. That's the Hamas goal. I'm not saying it's your goal. I'm saying that's the Hamas goal, to eliminate Israel and the Jewish state. As long as they're not eliminating and they're not killing or wiping the Jewish state, I think the Jewish state always winning. And the goal of the Jewish state right now, it's to wipe off Hamas. Not the Palestinian people, Hamas only.
But
And
they
Have they succeeded in that?
Not yet. Not yet.
Have they killed more people disproportionately? Do you know the ratio of how many Hamas
It's a different
members
argument.
to each civilian? It's the same
a different-
argument.
no, no,
You said the goal is to eliminate
it will
Hamas.
get shifted to a different argument.
Tomer, you said the goal is to eliminate Hamas.
Yes.
Around, they said hundreds, maybe 100 or more Hamas members died. What did you say? How
No,
many
there's
thousand?
more.
How many thousand Palestinians?
No, we had way more than
18,000
No, we've killed
people
way more
died.
numbers.
The ratio is
Disgrace.
1 to 100.
Disgrace.
1 to
Absolutely.
100. This is the most capable military in the world. You can't be more accurate. Your ratio can't be better
Yeah,
than
because
1
they're
to
hiding
100.
inside hospitals.
So go on the ground.
They're hiding inside of hospitals. They're hiding inside of terror babies. Inside of every Palestinian baby is a Hamas terrorist.
So go on the ground. Fight the
Why
kids.
would
Go
we,
on to
why
the
should
ground.
we
Fight
risk
them
our
on
lives?
men.
Why should we?
Why should
Yeah, that's what it is. Why should we risk our lives? It's like, first of all, none of you motherfuckers are risking your lives. You're on Jubilee. Okay, that's number one. Number two, yeah, no, you have a responsibility. That's so stupid. Like, that is, oh God, it's so dumb. You can't do that. You can't just literally be like, sorry, I'm too scared. I need to kill as many children as possible because I'm too scared. Okay, if you don't want to risk your life, there's a much better solution. Okay? There is a much better solution. It's called a political one. Okay? That's it. If you don't want to do it militarily, which you can't really deal with Hamas militarily, because Hamas is a mere extension of Palestinian emancipation. It's one version of it. Then you have to deal with it with a political solution, not a military one.
Why should you kill our innocent civilians?
Because they're attacking us and they're hiding behind your people.
Civilians didn't attack you.
It's a problem.
No, the Hamas didn't. They're hiding.
By the way, a lot of civilians from Gaza
you know
went
what
in
to
on
do.
October 7th because there was the pay. You got $10,000 plus an apartment. So actually, a lot of Gazan citizens went in. You saw them in plain clothes.
Bro, she's literally repeating. That's a $10,000. Yeah, dude. Hamas has 10 grand. No, that's literally from a fucking interrogation video. God, this is like, these are such easily tricked adults, but I guess it's because they're very motivated to be tricked. It's like it plays along with their cognitive biases. No, she's just fucking repeating what she saw in those interrogation videos, which no self-respecting news outlet would ever undignify themselves by presenting as honest truth, because one, it's illegal to begin with, and two, none of that shit is accurate information. Everybody knows that the interrogation videos are done not to get like real actable intelligence, but instead to simply embarrass whoever their opponents are in this matter. It's to embarrass like Hamas. That's why they get him to say stuff like Hamas is just like ISIS, or yes, it's not like we hate Islam, like we are operating outside of the boundaries of Islam, like we're operating in a way that is not befitting of like the Islamic faith. They're done under coercive conditions. Propaganda, that's it. It's so stupid.
Going through the border and coming in and kidnapping people. That's why some of the hostages can't be found.
Yeah.
Again, you guys keep
Most of the people that
you guys
that
keep
attacked in
bringing
October
up.
7,
You guys keep
kind of
saying
join
Hamas.
Hamas celebration.
5,000 people
saying
crossed the
Hamas.
It's like, think about it. You think Palestinians, do I think that there were criminal elements that fucking kidnap people? I do. For sure. I mean, look, Gaza is a place with 2 million people. There are fucking criminals. For sure. There are like people acting on their own self-interest, doing stuff like that. 100%. Like, 100%. The idea, however, that like Hamas was going to give $10,000 like in an apartment. What apartment? You think Palestinians don't know that like once October 7 happens, is fucking Jover? That you know they're gonna level Gaza? Of course they understand that. Do you think that Hamas and Palestinian militants in general were able to keep this information away from all of the Israeli authorities for the most part, while simultaneously delivering this info to like every Palestinian out there secretly, where they were like, hey guys, on October 7, we're going to do a military campaign, okay, into Israel proper. Please go there. We'll give you $10,000, which we definitely have, in an apartment, which definitely will not be leveled in the counter after October 7. Like,
Hamas,
Only 1,500
which I have
Hamas
never heard
terrorists.
about
The rest
more in
was
my
the
life,
innocent
except for
civilians
the
of
past
Gaza.
month and a half.
Okay?
I want to, because I'm going to be
Take
that
a look
person.
at the facts. That's what I'm going to
Well,
say.
we give you facts, and then
exactly.
you guys
Fact
say,
is,
no, that didn't happen.
5,000 people invaded Israel that day. 1,500 of them were Hamas. The rest of them were civilians.
From my perspective, the reason why I did not
yeah, invaded, as in, this part is true. There was a shit ton. No, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. There was a shit ton of Palestinians that just like went through the fucking border wall that was broken down. Yeah, there was a shit ton. You know what they did? There were accounts of it. There were accounts of it. You know what their invasion consisted of? Going into like previously occupied, I don't know what the actual numbers are, but going into previously occupied houses, or not occupied as in like settlement wise, but like houses that have people in them, and like cooking food and watching Netflix. That's what they did. like entering Israel proper for the first time in their entire lives. I'm sure that there were, in that circumstance, no, I'm not joking, that is real, yes. Yeah, they changed one family talked about how like there was a Palestinian family in their home as they were in the like in the safe room in their house, and they were watching Netflix. They turned their Netflix into Arabic and they like cooked one of the meals. Some of them stole like electronic equipment and shit. And it's like, when you hear stuff like that, you have to think like, God damn, dude, these motherfuckers have nothing. You know what I mean? Like that's an act of terror to you. Like these dudes have nothing. Literally, they have nothing. Who reported this? I believe it was on Haaretz, as well as many outlets at the time. I remember because one of the Israeli Hasbara guys literally talked about like the second. Wait, what? Bad take, bro. Of course, that's an act of terror. What do you mean? Stealing a fucking AC unit as you break through your fucking concentration camp boundaries. That's an act of terror? No, that's theft. There's a separate term for it. It's called theft. Okay? It's ironic because when you think about it, theft is kind of the inception of the nation state of Israel. Anyway, however, there are obviously like criminal elements that I'm sure broke through the border wall as well, broke through the boundary, did some fucked up shit. Anyway, I have a massive headache, dude, from this video. I'm tapping out. Chat. I'm going to hit the last 3-minute ad break here. I can't finish this video. I give up.